Chapter 447. The dishes were served very quickly in the dimensional universe. Even a roasted mammoth only took a few minutes to be served. The mammoth didn't cause any hindrance to the meal. The space for the dishes seemed to be able to be enlarged. The mammoth was a huge dish. If you wanted to eat it, you could eat it at any time. This was the wonder of the dimensional universe. The dishes were served, and so was the wine. This time, it was Holly who ordered the newly brewed New Red. It wasn't cheap, and the wine alone was worth several million. Come, everyone, enjoy. You can also enjoy the singing and dancing below. Let me tell you, looking down at those beautiful elves from above, it's a different experience. These warriors had already noticed. Looking down from above, they could see the snow-white scenery below. They could see the beautiful elves jumping up and down. Some people couldn't even take their eyes off them. At this time, an especially beautiful elven girl went up the stage. When this beauty appeared, the bar immediately erupted with shouts. Linger! Linger! Linger, I love you. You're a goddess. Lin Jun and the others were also attracted by the shouts. They looked down. This elven girl was indeed incomparably beautiful. Every woman in this bar was a beauty, but only this Ling was a true beauty. Her delicate figure and devastatingly beautiful face made men involuntarily want to protect her. Lin Jun even saw that Holly's eyes were shining. Clearly, he was also a fan of Ling. Many people picked up flower petals from the table and scattered them. Each flower petal represented 100,000, and they were all given to Ling. Ling picked up a microphone and waved at the people she was familiar with. She even waved at Holly, who was on the second floor. Clearly, she knew him. Holly immediately grabbed over 100 flower petals and scattered them. Then he shouted, Ling, I love you. Marry me. Ling revealed a charming smile and didn't say anything. Instead, she softly sang a song. Her voice was light and mellow, like a spring flowing through an empty mountain. It seemed to have a magical power that made people involuntarily think of beautiful things like birds, sunshine, and flowers. Everyone had an intoxicated look on their faces. This Linger is too beautiful. Who is she? A martial artist whispered. Sure. She's the #1 beauty of the fairy forest, the #1 beauty of the Saint Devil planet. She's beautiful and has a sweet voice. 70 to 80% of the people here are here to see her. Every week, she sings a few songs and earns over $1 billion. Everyone closed their eyes and immersed themselves in Linger's beautiful singing. Even Taishan, who was from the Titan race, was slightly swaying his head along with the song. It was clear that music had no boundaries and no distinction between races. Lin Jun also liked her singing, but he didn't stop. He waved a knife and fork in his hand and cut off a large piece of golden roasted mammoth meat. He ate with relish as he listened. Lin Jun found that his appetite was unusually large. He ate a large piece of meat as if he hadn't eaten at all. He immediately cut off another large piece and wolfed it down. The others didn't have as good an appetite as Lin Jun. They were all immersed in Linger's singing and beauty. When the song came to an end, the crowd applauded enthusiastically. The petals that people gave to Ling fell like rain. Linger finished singing a song and needed a rest. She went to the back to prepare. During this break, Bai Di suggested that they should choose a leader. When they entered the World Stone, everyone would listen to the leader and strive to be more cohesive. However, no one responded to Bai Di's suggestion. Although Holly's performance was stronger than others, these people were all martial arts geniuses. It wasn't enough to bribe them so easily. Seeing that no one responded, Bai Di's expression changed. He put down his knife and fork and said he needed to go to the washroom. After a while, the sound of quarreling came from outside. Soon, the quarreling people came nearby. It was Bai Di. Lin Jun turned around and saw 7 or 8 people beside Bai Di. Some were humans, some were elves, and some were winged. These people were all wearing Huahua's green clothes. It seemed like they were going to attack Bai Di. Stinky brat, you dare to behave so atrociously here. You don't put our 3 meritorious association in your eyes. Hurry up and kneel down and apologize. Otherwise, we will find your dimensional universe number and destroy you in the real world. We will kill your entire race. You dare to be so arrogant in the Saint Devil planet. You really think you are something? Taishan frowned slightly. Not good. Baidu offended a gang. The Three Meritorious Association is a gang on the Saint Devil planet. It was established by a human, an elf, and a winged. It's quite powerful. A few warriors at the side became nervous. Then what do we do? Do we go help ID? It's fine to fight in the dimensional universe, right? Holly snorted. Is there a need to consider? We came out together and represent the Galactic Beast Alliance. Of course, we have to advance and retreat together. So what if it's a gang? Do you think you can bully us unscrupulously? What a joke. I want to see how rampant this gang is. Holly slammed the table and stood up. Baidu, come over here. I want to see who dares to touch you. Baidu was being pushed around by a group of gang members. He was in a very sorry state, but he didn't dare to take the initiative to go back. He was afraid of bringing trouble to Holly. Hearing Holly shout, he seemed to have grasped at straws and immediately ran back. The 7 or 8 gang members behind him also tottered over. The leading human had an arrogant look on his face. Who is the big shot here? Who dares to meddle in our Three Meritorious Association's business? Are you tired of living? Holly stood up and snorted coldly. Since when did the Three Heroes Guild become so powerful? Even a forest of fairies is under your control. How come our whole family doesn't know about it? Whole family? Which whole family? The human was stunned. The whole family of the Heaven's Enlightenment Star Mining Company, Holly said proudly. It seemed that his family's influence wasn't small. At this moment, Chao Yang whispered in Lin Jun's ear. Their family has shares in Planet Revelation mining, but they aren't the major shareholders. They only participate in the mining of resource planets. Lin Jun nodded. Planet Revelation was a huge planet, and the mining company was very rich. They were developing resource planets everywhere. To be able to do this, the power behind them couldn't be weak. They had to have a certain level of power in both the legal and illegal sides. Although the Hua family was only a small shareholder, they couldn't be underestimated. As expected, the faces of the Three Meritorious Association's martial artists changed. You're the young master of the Hua family? That's right. I'm Holly. You can ask around. The mining company that our Hua family belongs to has dealings with the Three Meritorious Association's higher-ups. You better behave yourselves. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Hearing Holly's righteous reprimand, the Three Meritorious Association's people were a little afraid. We're so sorry, young Master Hua. We didn't know you were here. If we knew it was your friend, we wouldn't have dared to do anything. That's enough. The ignorant are not at fault. You can leave. Be more careful in the future. Hee hee. Thank you, young Master Hua, for not blaming us. We'll leave now. The martial artist took his people and retreated a few steps. Then, he called for the maids to add a few more dishes for their table, spending over $1 million. After the Three Meritorious Association's people left, Holly smiled again. Everyone, let's eat. Don't let such a small matter disturb our drinking mood. The meal started again, but some of the martial artists looked at Holly with a trace of respect. He had strength and talent. He also had a huge power behind him. Even the triads had to be wary of him. There shouldn't be a problem for such a person to be their leader. Even Chao Yang and Taishan looked like they were thinking. Only Lin Jun didn't stop. He didn't forget to eat when he was watching the show. The huge mammoth had already been eaten to the bone. Baidu glanced at Lin Jun and then said to everyone, Now, does anyone have any objections to Holly being our leader? Most of the martial artists expressed their agreement. Only Lin Jun, Chao Yang, and Taishan didn't say anything. Chao Yang was someone from Lin Jun's territory after all. He still had to ask for Lin Jun's opinion. Lin Jun once again ate a large piece of mammoth meat. Then, he put down his knife and fork and drank a cup of wine. Entering the World Stone, there will definitely be a lot of fighting. In the end, it's still your strength that decides it, not your family background. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Holly's expression changed. He didn't think that Lin Jun would be so stubborn. He was about to explode. But at this time, the melodious music in the room sounded again. It turned out that Ling had finished her rest. She took out a guqin and started to play and sing on the stage. Holly glared fiercely at Lin Jun. If it weren't for my future wife here, I would have taught you a lesson today. Lin Jun's face turned red. Lin Jun didn't care about his threat at all. He smiled and took a sip of wine. Ling Er's guqin and singing were indeed amazing. They should enjoy it. Furthermore, Lin Jun felt that Ling Er's voice was similar to his wife, Yu Er. It made him feel closer to her. The sound of the guqin lingered in the room, making people intoxicated. Suddenly, a discordant sound interrupted the sound of the guqin. A group of people walked towards the stage in a mess. Immediately, everyone looked at them angrily. They wanted to see who had disturbed their mood. But when they saw it, many people immediately retracted their gazes. There were 30 to 40 people in this group. Among them, there were beastmen, lion race, tiger race, wolf race. There were also some purple-haired and green-skinned devil race. Every one of them had an incomparably ferocious appearance. On the Saint Devil Star, the devil race and the beastmen were two super warlike races. The countless years of war on the planet were almost all started by them, so no one dared to offend them. This wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that on their clothes, there was a picture of a tower embroidered on their chests. People from Tong Tian Tower. Tong Tian Tower was different from the Three Hero Society, a small local gang on Saint Devil Planet. The Three Hero Society was just a small local snake, while Tong Tian Tower was one of the four big gangs in the Sanjiang Star region. They were a real dragon crossing the river. Among these devil race and beastmen, there was a golden-haired youth wearing a silver knight's suit. He had an arrogant expression on his face. He was obviously the leader of these people. Lin Jun was stunned. Wasn't this the person from Tong Tian Tower that he saw when he first arrived at 100 River Star? Chapter 448. Many people in the bar stood up as soon as the blonde youth finished speaking. Ling Er had too many admirers, and many of them did not know who this blonde youth was. Hence, they were unhappy. Who the F***ck are you? Are you looking for death here? How dare you ask Ling Er to drink with you? Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? Why don't you take a look at yourself? Don't think you're so great just because you have a bunch of demons and beastmen. I even have friends from the angel race. Believe it or not, I'll call someone over to destroy you. The blonde youth looked around and sneered. Sure, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want to see who dares to mess with the Tongtian Tower in a place like the Saint Devil Planet. Hurry up and find them. It won't do if you can't find them. A few tall demons and beastmen looked around with hideous smiles. Are you tired of living? Do you know who this is? Young Master Jin Haonan from the Tongtian Tower, Elder Jin's son. Hearing this, the knights who were filled with righteous indignation immediately suppressed their anger. It turned out that this was the son of a gang boss. Elder Jin was a super expert at the peak of the galaxy level and an elder of the Tongtian Tower. Not to mention Elder Jin Haonan himself was famous. He was not even 100 years old and was already a level 9 stellar level expert. He was definitely worthy of the title of a genius. Moreover, he had the Tongtian Tower as his backing. The four major gangs of the Sanjiang Federation were not to be trifled with. There were too many cases of families being wiped out after offending them. Looking at the knights who had gone silent, Jin Haonan laughed. A bunch of rats. How dare you steal my woman? Come on, kill those guys who were spouting nonsense. Let them know that I, Jin Haonan, am not someone they can afford to offend. A few demon experts immediately took action. They locked onto those who had reprimanded Jin Haonan with righteous indignation. Being killed in the dimensional universe was not a pleasant thing. If one was killed here, it would take a month for their data to recover. If they were killed once, they would not be able to enter the dimensional universe again for a month. It was just like a person who kept his head down and looked at his phone. If he was not given a phone for a month, he would definitely not be used to it. This was 100 times more serious than that. After all, this was another world. Those people wanted to escape, but the demons and beastmen that Jin Haonan brought were all experts. They were easily taken down and killed as if they were vegetables. Blood was spilled in the bar, and the corpse was still on the ground. Almost everyone was shocked. Seeing that no one dared to speak, he stepped onto the stage and looked at Ling Er. He chuckled and said, "Little beauty, don't be afraid of me. I treat my enemies coldly, but I treasure my women. Today, I'll play with you in the dimensional universe. Tomorrow, I'll drive a spaceship at light speed to the Saint Demon planet to look for you. I'll marry you and let you enjoy a lifetime of happiness." Linger was so scared that her face turned pale. Although she was an expert, she obviously had no power to resist in front of Jean Hounan and the others. The boss of the Forest of Fairies hurriedly ran out and bowed to Jean Hounan. "Young Master Jean, this Linger is only here to sing. She is the star of our bar. No matter what, you can't ruin this star. You can eat, drink, or play. Today, your brothers will give you everything for free. Only this Linger, can you be magnanimous? Slap." What answered him was a loud slap. Jean Hounan swung his hand and said, "Nonsense. You have no idea how many people you have accompanied. Do you think I'm so tasteless as to look for them? I'm only interested in Linger. If you don't know how to appreciate favors, I'll lead my brothers from the Tower of Babel to your Saint Demon planet and burn down your Forest of Fairies. Don't think that the upper echelons you know in the Saint Demon planet can protect you. In front of the Tower of Babel, they are nothing. If I'm not happy, I'll have the federal parliament order the removal of your bullshit human emperor and elf queen." The boss was slapped until he saw stars, but he didn't dare to say a word. Jean Hounan wasn't bragging. Although it wasn't easy to replace the Saint Devil Emperor or the Elf Queen, it wasn't difficult to wipe out the Fairy Forest Bar. The forces of the Saint Demon planet were on a completely different level from the Tower of Babel. Seeing that the boss of the bar was scared, Jean Hounan looked around with contempt and said, "Does anyone else have a different opinion? If no one stands up, I'll take this girl away." After saying that, he looked at the boss, who was nervous, and said, "You don't have to worry too much. This is the dimensional universe. I can't really play her to death. I'm just enjoying myself. However, you have to protect her well in the real world. Tomorrow, I'll set off for the Saint Demon planet and bring her back." The surrounding experts of the demon race and half-blood beastmen looked around aggressively. Everyone was intimidated by their imposing manner and didn't dare to act rashly. Although a beauty was good, it wasn't as important as their own lives. Linger nervously shrank in the corner of the dimensional stage. Her beautiful eyes were full of panic. Even if she left the dimensional universe now, it would be useless. Now that she was targeted by the Tower of Babel, it was impossible for her to escape. She could only look around for help. She knew many of the customers here. They often came to the bar to support her. Many people were pursuing her. She hoped that one of them would stand up and save her from this situation. However, she was disappointed. These guys who were usually powerful on the Saint Demon planet were all scared in the face of the Tower of Babel. They all lowered their heads, not daring to look at Jean Hounan in the center. They were afraid that the other party would notice them and take his anger out on them. The fate of those who stood up just now reminded them of Jean Hounan's brutality. In the end, Linger's gaze fell on Holly on the second floor. This person often came to see her and said many times that he wanted to marry her. Although Linger didn't like him, at this time of crisis, if he could save her, then perhaps everything would be possible. Holly also felt Linger's pleading gaze and couldn't help but grit his teeth. Those people from the Three Meritorious Society were just acting. Of course, he wasn't afraid of the Three Meritorious Society. However, the Tower of Babel was different. Even the upper echelons of the Heaven Awakened Star mining group had the protection of the Tower of Babel to occupy the mining rights of the resource planets. He was just the son of a small shareholder of the mining group. Did he have the qualifications to talk to the son of an elder of the Tower of Babel? Seeing Linger's pitiful, pleading gaze, Holly finally hardened his heart and went all out. If he succeeded, he might really be able to win the beauty back. He gathered his courage and went down to the second floor to block Jean Hounan. Jean Hounan's expression suddenly changed. "Io, there are still people who don't know death." No. Young Master Jean, don't misunderstand. Let me introduce myself first. My father is Huaming, a shareholder of the Heaven Awaken Mining Group. My name is Holly. Heaven Awaken Mining Group. Jean Hounan was stunned for a moment, then said with a gloomy face, "Who is this Linger to you?" She's my girlfriend." Slap. Another loud slap came. Jean Hounan said sternly, "I've investigated her for a long time. She doesn't have a boyfriend." Don't think that you can pretend in front of me just because you're from the Heaven Awakened Mining Group. Believe it or not, if I get angry, your Heaven Awakened Mining Group won't be able to do any business in the future. Holly's face was burning with pain. He wanted to fight with Jean Haonan, but he didn't dare. After all, the other party was a gang and did things without scruples. He couldn't. Jean Haonan stared at Holly. Get lost immediately, or I won't be polite. Holly was furious. He was also a martial arts genius. Jean Haonan's strength was not higher than his. Why should he be beaten in front of a woman? Linger was still looking at him. This was too embarrassing. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't make up his mind. He was worried about his gains and losses. At this time, Lin Jun, Chao Yong, Tai Shan, and Bai Di came down from the second floor. After all, they were all together. They couldn't just stand by and watch Holly get beaten up. Tai Shan walked at the front and came to Holly's side. He said to Jean Haonan, "We are from the Galactic Beast Alliance. It's not good for you to hit our people like this." Jean Haonan was also stunned. He could ignore Holly's identity, but he couldn't ignore the Galactic Beast Alliance's reputation. Although the Galactic Beast Alliance didn't have any power in the Sanjiang Federation, in the entire universe, their Tong Tian Tower was far from being comparable to the Galactic Beast Alliance. Therefore, he hesitated. He didn't know if he should continue to be enemies with Holly. At this time, Holly realized that he was stupid. He shouldn't have mentioned his family to Jean Haonan. The Galactic Beast Alliance was their biggest backing. It was just that he was used to relying on his family. He had just joined the alliance and wasn't used to changing his identity. Seeing that Jean Haonan seemed to be somewhat afraid of his identity, Holly once again became arrogant. Jean Haonan, today you must apologize to Ling in front of me and promise that you will never harass her again. Moreover, you must let me slap you 10 times in the face. Otherwise, your Tong Tian Tower will be out of luck. Jean Haonan originally wanted to retreat, but he didn't expect Holly to make such a harsh request. He was instantly furious. Even if you are from a Galactic Beast Alliance, in a place like the Sanjiang Star Zone Federation, you still have to show some respect to the Tong Tian Tower. The anger that had subsided rushed to his head again. Jean Haonan raised his hand and gave Holly another slap. Crack! Little bastard, did I give you face? I think you are tired of living. The surrounding demons and beastmen immediately surrounding them in the middle. Holly was dumbfounded. He didn't expect Jean Haonan to be so crazy. He knew his identity, but he still didn't hesitate to hit him. Although he was angry, he really didn't dare to fight with Jean Haonan. This time, he was really a little scared. Linger saw Holly retreat, and she suddenly felt a little desperate. What kind of man was this? He was simply bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Linger looked down on Holly. Jean Haonan intimidated Holly and the others. He immediately walked to the stage with a hideous smile. At this time, a familiar voice spoke. Holly, you already said that you are from the Galactic Beast Alliance. Now that you are being beaten, you don't even dare to fight back. You want to be a leader with this kind of conduct? That guy with the surname Jean, how can you do something like snatching a woman? You're simply a scumbag. Who is it? Jean Haonan suddenly turned around. Damn you. Take this. Chapter 449. This tusk was a mammoth's tusk. Lin Zhen was holding it in preparation for a fight, because beside Jean Haonan, there were 2 warriors who kept looking at him. Obviously, they recognized Lin Zhen. It was just that Jean Haonan was busy fighting for women and had no time to deal with Lin Zhen. It was conceivable that Jean Haonan and the others would definitely find trouble with Lin Zhen in the future. Lin Zhen was very sensitive to danger. Since they would have to shed all pretense of cordiality sooner or later, it was better to strike first and gain the upper hand. Lin Zhen believed in this philosophy. Other than this reason, Lin Zhen also had another idea. The Galactic Beast Alliance was a super organization. If they were suppressed by a gang from a mid-level cosmic country like Tong Tian Tower, he believed that the higher-ups of the alliance would be unhappy. Holly and the others couldn't see the situation clearly and were asking to be humiliated. Lin Zhen wouldn't take this lying down. So, whether it was for personal or public reasons, Lin Zhen used this tusk against Jean Haonan. There was a place in the dimensional universe that was completely different from the real world. Other than places like the Azura Field and the Arena, weapons were prohibited in other dimensional spaces. This was a virtual world. There was no need to bear too much responsibility for killing. If you could use weapons to fight, the dimensional world would have been in chaos. So, when fighting here, you would usually grab something and use it as a weapon. This tusk was 4 meters long, thick and big. Lin Jun grabbed it and swung it around, tearing off a piece of it. Jin Haonan saw Lin Jun at first glance, but it was too late to dodge. "It's you!" Boom! Jin Haonan used his arm to block, but he was still sent flying by Lin Jun. He slammed heavily into the wall. F***CK. Charge! Destroy this bastard. Jin Haonan's eyes were red. He had already seen that Lin Jun was not someone to be trifled with. Now that he dared to sneak attack him, he couldn't tolerate it. Jin Haonan gave the order to fight, and the demons and half-beastmen moved. These warmongers rushed up while shouting. Lin Jun also shouted to his companions behind him. "What are you guys still looking at? Could it be that the Galactic Beast Alliance is afraid of these gangsters?" Rumble. Tarzan was the first to rush out. The Titan heavily collided with a half-beast man of the lion race. Even though the lion half-blood beast man was also ferocious and valiant, Tarzan's innate divine strength was not so easy to resist. He was sent flying dozens of meters away like a rag doll. Taishan directly smashed the half-orc against the wall of the bar. After landing on the ground, Taishan grabbed the half-orc's foot and crazily smashed it against the ground. In a cloud of dust, the orc was smashed to death, and the bar became a mess. The battle had just begun. Lin Jun and Chao Yang had also charged into the enemy's group. When the other cultivators saw this, they knew that they couldn't be kind anymore. So, they decided to throw caution to the wind and fight with the enemy. On the contrary, Holly, who was overcautious, struggled for a long time before he finally realized that Jin Haonan already hated them. If he didn't take action today, he might end up not pleasing either side. He glanced at Ling in the corner of the stage and shouted, "Ling, don't be afraid. No one can touch you today." Ling looked at Holly coldly. She was a little disappointed with this person. When the battle started, the bar was suddenly in chaos. The people who were drinking had seen this scene many times. Those who had nothing to do with it immediately retreated and went up to the second floor. They occupied a favorable position and began to watch the show, leaving the hall on the first floor completely to the two sides of the battle. Even the bar's waitresses, messengers, and security guards all moved away. They couldn't afford to provoke those who dare to fight here. It was better to let them settle it themselves until the battle ended. The bar in the fairy forest was also abnormally sturdy. The tree supporting the bar was not an ordinary tree, but a tree of life. It was the treasure of the fairy forest. People below the nebula stage couldn't destroy this tree, even if they wanted to. Therefore, these nebula stage experts couldn't tear down the bar. At most, they could only break the decorations inside. Huff, huff! Lin Jun's body swayed, and he dodged a fish shadow on the opposite side. Then, he quickly counterattacked. He attacked thousands of times per second, and the wind from his punches forced the green-skinned demon to retreat. His footwork changed, and he suddenly came to the side of the demon and threw an energy ball at it. As if a bomb exploded at its waist, the demon screamed and flew away. Lin Jun's energy ball blasted it into the sky. Its body hung on the crystal lamp on the ceiling of the bar. However, the demon's body was far stronger than that of humans. This demon didn't die after being hit by the energy ball. Instead, it wanted to counterattack Lin Jun. Roar! Lin Jun was about to continue his attack when a werewolf beastman pounced on Lin Jun's back and scratched with its claws. Immediately, a deep wound appeared. Lin Jun's battle wasn't easy. These 9 stellar level fellows were abnormally strong. Moreover, the demons and beastmen had a common characteristic, which was that they were simple-minded. With simple-minded minds, their mental strength was somewhat condensed. Although they couldn't become telekinesis masters, they weren't afraid of mental attacks. Even with Lin Jun's sky-blue mental strength, it was difficult for him to take them down in one hit. Without a weapon and unable to use mental strength, Lin Jun's combat power was greatly reduced. In terms of fists and feet, very few people could compete with the beastmen and demons. Lin Jun also discovered that many of these stellar-level experts were below 100 years old. Thinking that Jin Haonan was also below 100 years old, it was very likely that these people would join the camp for those below 100 years old in the future. Their talent and strength weren't any worse than Lin Jun's group. Logically speaking, Lin Jun's group was the best of the best among the stellar-level experts. They wouldn't be able to gain any advantage against these gangs. Waves of energy storms swept through the room, and powerful air currents surged. This power that could topple mountains and overturn seas was unable to break through the walls of the fairy forest. All of the power was concentrated in this hall, and it suddenly became like hell on earth. One of Lin Jun's martial artists was attacked by two beastmen. Finally, he couldn't resist, and his neck was cut off. He died on the spot. After all, their numbers were less than half, and their individual strength didn't have much of an advantage. Soon, they were defeated. Use your talents, Chao Yang roared. Hundreds of arms appeared on his body, and his fists rained down. He actually killed a werewolf beastman. When these martial artists were reminded, they immediately displayed their talents. Some of them had extra arms, some had extraordinary strength, some transformed into half armor, and some enlarged their bodies. After using their talents, the situation suddenly changed. The people on the other side weren't used to it, and Lin Jun's group immediately counterattacked. Taishan's talent was the Gold Titan transformation. His body that was originally more than 2 meters tall became 4 meters tall. His whole body looked as if it was made of gold. He rushed into the crowd, and the claws and teeth of the demons and beastmen couldn't hurt him at all. His pair of golden palms were like 2 sledgehammers. As he waved them around, they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. In a short time, he killed 4 of 5 people. Seeing Taishan wreaking havoc in the crowd, Jin Haonan's eyes showed a trace of hostility. He also wanted to join the camp for those below 100 years old. It could be said that he was the opponent of this group of Galactic Beast Alliance people. Since he had offended them, he might as well go all out. A layer of green light appeared on the surface of his body, and his arms turned into 2 large swords. Mid-level Galactic Beast, Starry Sky Ripper Gene. The Starry Sky Ripper was like a huge praying mantis. It was an extremely terrifying galactic beast that was born to fight. His legs became extremely strong and agile. Jin Haonan quickly rushed into the crowd. The 2 huge praying mantis swords in his hand slashed, and 2 Galactic Beast Alliance martial artists fell into a pool of blood. Hiss! A green light flashed, and he was already in front of Taishan. Big guy die. The green light flashed, and Taishan instinctively felt danger. He stretched out his huge palms to block the attack. A series of metal clashing sounds were heard. Taishan's speed was far inferior to Jin Haonan's, and the praying mantis swords slashed the back of his neck. The Gold Titan's head was chopped off. Taishan died in battle. When Taishan fell, Lin Jun was fighting in the crowd. Black scales appeared on his body. Lin Jun used half armor. The talent he obtained was full armor transformation. However, he only activated half of its power, and it was enough for him to move freely in the crowd. After his palms were covered in scales, they turned into killing weapons. The werewolves behind him were beheaded. Like a bolt of black lightning, Lin Jun was constantly looking for opportunities to attack and killing without stopping. After Jin Haonan killed Taishan, he went straight to Ling who was on the stage. Holly had been guarding Ling When he saw Jin Haonan rushing over, he immediately activated his talent. He had obtained the gene of a galactic beast called the Thunderclap Beast. When his talent was activated, his body was surrounded by electric light. Thunderbolts and lightning struck Jin Haonan. Holly was also going all out. He pushed his talent to the limit and used all his strength. No matter what, he had to fight to the death with Jin Haonan. He could already tell that Ling hated him. In order to win her heart, he had to perform well today. This was an opportunity. Both of them had mid-level galactic beast genes. The 2 of them were almost equal in strength. Thunderbolts and blades clashed, and the scene was extremely dangerous. Come on, Jean. I'll fight to the death with you. Holly roared and charged towards Jean Haonan with the intention of perishing together with him. He felt that his strength was still slightly inferior to Jean Haonan's, so he planned to self-detonate to attack his opponent. No matter what, he had to win the heart of this beauty. Jean Haonan was also fully alert. He was looking for an opportunity to kill Holly. Chapter 450. It had to be said that Holly was very powerful when he was angry. As a pinnacle level, 9-star grade telekinesis master, his combat power was far superior to ordinary people's. Now that he had transformed into a mid-grade galactic beast, his body was shrouded in a layer of green light. Streaks of lightning fell from the sky, turning the stage into a living hell. Even though Jean Haonan was a starry sky ripper, which was famous for its combat power, it was not easy for him to get close to Holly. He waved the huge green mantis blade with all his might, blocking the lightning bolts. He was practically braving the lightning bolts as he moved forward. Holly, don't get cocky. You'll be dead if I get close to you. Even if you can escape, the little girl behind you won't be able to escape. Jean Haonan was very confident. He might not be able to kill Holly directly, but if Holly wanted to protect Ling he would have to face Jean Haonan head-on. The bar had already been turned into a living hell. There was an energy storm and star-grade weapons flying around. If Ling dared to leave the stage, she would definitely die. It was because the two leaders were fighting here that the others intentionally or unintentionally avoided this place, giving them a space to fight. This was Jean Haonan's confidence. The Starry Sky Ripper was very strong in close combat, but its long-range attacks were lacking. Therefore, he would rather take a few lightning strikes to get close to Holly. The distance between the stage and the stage was too small. Even though Holly's lightning was falling like a storm, Jean Haonan still got close within a few seconds. Ling screamed in fright as she watched Jean Haonan transform into a huge, malevolent insect. Holly was obviously unable to stop him. She was a young girl from the fairy tribe. Fairies were naturally good at singing and dancing. They had unparalleled beauty. As the #1 beauty of the fairy tribe, she was favored by the heavens in terms of appearance and temperament. She loved life, singing, flowers, trees, and nature. She was kind and longed for beauty. This was the nature of fairies. However, her unparalleled beauty had brought her disaster. Many people coveted her beauty, but with the protection of the fairy tribe, she had always been safe and sound. However, Jean Haonan was different. If even the boss of the fairy forest couldn't stop him, she didn't know who else she could rely on. This Holly in front of him was a little weak. When he was in danger, he couldn't step forward immediately. Although he was standing in front of her to block Jean Haonan's attack, Ling still remembered who it was that stood up to save her. It was another young man of the human clan, the one who was fighting hard on the battlefield. She didn't know whether or not the boy had acted because of her, but to be able to not fear the power of Tong Tian Tower, one could imagine how brave the boy was. She hoped to see his face again. Unfortunately, the elemental energy on the battlefield flickered wildly, making it impossible for her to see anyone clearly. Even if she wanted to find that person, she had no idea where to start. And Holly was still blocking her way. At this moment, from the bottom of her heart, she hoped that the person in front of her was not him. Her heart was in a mess. Jean Haonan had already approached within 3 meters of Holly. The thunderous power that fell frantically left wounds all over Holly's body. However, the Starry Sky Ripper was still able to withstand it. Holly, you're finished. Holly took a deep breath and said, Jean Haonan, you forced me to do this. As he spoke, the third eye on his forehead opened up. He was from a 3-eyed god clan, which was also a unique fighting race. He had an incomparably powerful fighting talent. The 3-eyed god clan cultivated. When their star power was saturated, they could store it in their third eye and launch a powerful attack. This was their trump card. Normally, they wouldn't be willing to use it. However, at this moment, in order to win the beauty back, Holly was willing to risk it. Jean Haonan, die. In the sky, the huge divine eye opened. A powerful killing force suddenly filled the battlefield. Jean Haonan immediately felt a fatal threat. Ayaya. Holly, Don't even think about it. At this moment of life and death, he also used his ultimate move. Martial technique, Starry Sky Ripper. He had obtained the Galactic Beast gene for a much longer time than Holly. He had already learned a powerful killer move from it. With this move, he had even killed a black hole stage expert. That was why he had a relatively high status in Tong Tian Tower. The two huge mantis blades turned into a blade storm and launched an unprecedentedly powerful attack. The blade storm went head-on against Holly's divine eye. The powerful attack caused some damage to the walls of the fairy forest. This was not a damage that a star-level expert could cause. The collision of powers that were close to a black hole-level expert forced the surrounding people to retreat. The dazzling light made it impossible for people to see what was happening. They only felt that the energy elements collided for about 5 seconds and then suddenly converged. Ugh! Holly held his throat and retreated. Blood flowed out from between his fingers. His talent was still not perfect. Facing Jin Haonan's Starry Sky Ripper, he lost. It was not a crushing defeat. He only lost by a little. Jin Haonan was also on the verge of death. However, he was still stronger and defeated him at the last moment. Jin Haonan had succeeded in one move. He did not care about the wounds on his body and jumped up. Holly, if you want to be a flower protector, you need to have power. Acting rashly will only bring you disaster. Since you have chosen to protect that woman, you should prepare to die for your choice. Holly looked at Jin Haonan's attacking figure. He was afraid and regretful. He was not dead yet. As long as he was given a safe place to leave the dimensional universe, he would be fine when he logged in again. He could not enter the dimensional universe for a month. His family still needed him. He still had to fight for power. If he could not enter, he would lose a lot. Although Ling was good, she was not as important as his family position. Although he knew that he could end the battle with Jin Haonan with one more attack, he could not do it. Hence, he was afraid again. Let me go. Holly's voice was not loud, but it was enough for Jin Haonan and Ling to hear clearly. Ling face, which still had a glimmer of hope, was immediately filled with despair. He was indeed an unreliable person. Jin Haonan laughed loudly. Idiot! It's too late to beg for mercy now. But I despise you. Go and die. That girl is mine. Swoosh! The blade slashed down again. Holly closed his eyes. It was over. Not only did he fail to protect his life in the dimensional universe, but he also lost all his face. If he had known this would happen, he would have fought until the end and left a good impression on Ling Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard. It was deafening. Jin Haonan's blade did not slash down. It was blocked by someone. Holly and Ling opened their eyes at the same time and looked at the scene in front of them. A cold-looking young man covered in black scales used his arm to block Jin Haonan's mantis blade. It was Lin Jun. Holly recognized him. It was him. Ling also recognized him. He was the young man who attacked first. It's you, you bastard. Jin Haonan gritted his teeth in hatred. This foreign brat did not give him any face after entering 100 River Star. He was the one who ruined everything just now. Now, he was here to ruin his plans. Unfortunately, Jin Haonan and Holly had fought with their lives on the line. They were already at the end of their rope and could not do anything to Lin Jun. Lin Jun looked at Jin Haonan and laughed coldly. Shameless person, I told you just now that I am here. You will not be able to succeed. It seems that you did not listen. Then, I have to teach you a lesson. Bah, you are not worthy. If it wasn't for me. Lin Jun didn't give him a chance to talk nonsense. He took a big stride forward and clawed at his neck with his scaly hands. Since you don't know how to behave, don't talk like a human. Jin Haonan's body was suspended in the air by Lin Jun. He struggled with all his might, but he could only make stuttering sounds. You want to talk to me about Tong Tian Tower? Do you think that I dare to kill you because I don't know that you are from Tong Tian Tower? To our Galactic Beast Alliance, Tong Tian Tower is nothing. I'm not like some cowardly scoundrel who will only bring shame to the Galactic Beast Alliance. If you're not convinced, you can come to the Galactic Beast Alliance and find me. My name is Lin Jun. Remember it. Die. Crack. Lin Jun exerted force with one hand and broke Jin Haonan's neck. He lost all strength to resist and died on the spot. He would not be qualified to enter the dimensional universe for a month. After Lin Jun killed his way in, he casually threw Jin Haonan's body aside, as if he was throwing away trash. Lin Jun clapped her hands and turned her head to look at Ling Er, who was curled up in a corner with tears streaming down her face. This little girl was very beautiful. Her beauty was extraordinary. Moreover, her voice was very similar to his wife, Yu. Lin Jun felt a sense of closeness for no reason. He slowly walked over, squatted down, and gently reached out his hand. Just like how he treated Yu. He gently stroked Ling Er's hair. It's okay. I've killed that bad guy. He won't be able to enter the dimensional universe for a month. When Lin Jun gently stroked her head, Ling Er's hesitant heart immediately calmed down. Being saved from a life and death situation made her have a very good impression of Lin Jun. However, she was still a little worried. But he said he would come to Saint Demon Planet. It's okay. I'll set off for Saint Demon Planet now. I also have a lightspeed spaceship. I'll bring you to a safe place. Okay? Ling was at a loss. Her small hands grabbed Lin Jun's collar tightly. Don't be afraid. If you can trust me, call me Big Brother. Ling was an elf, so she was especially sensitive to people's hearts. She could sense who really wanted to treat her well. At this moment, Lin Jun made her feel like a family member. She was extremely attached to him. Her small hand firmly held Lin Jun's hand. Her soft and fragrant body leaned over, and she nodded heavily. Then you have to come quickly. Ling is waiting for you here. It'll be fast. It's 20 light years away. A lightspeed spaceship can arrive in 2 hours. Wait for me. Just as they were talking, Holly couldn't take it anymore. Originally, he wouldn't die if he left the dimensional universe at this moment, but he really couldn't stand it anymore. He was the one who fought Jin Haonan head-on and almost died on the spot. He was the one who chased Ling Er for many years to no avail and spent countless money on her. But why? Why did Lin Jun get close to Ling Er just by pinching Jin Haonan? Chapter 451. Holly felt waves of dizziness. Clutching his bleeding throat, he walked towards Lin Jun and the other two. However, when Ling Er saw him walking over, she showed a disgusted expression and hid behind Lin Jun. Lin Jun sneered. He protected Ling Er and said to him, Holly, if I were you, I wouldn't be thinking about how to get close to girls. Instead, I will be thinking about how to face Han Shajia and the others. As a member of the Galactic Beast Alliance, you didn't even dare to fight back when you were slapped in the face by a gang. You are a disgrace to our alliance. Holly was still unwilling to give up and wanted to win Ling Er's favor. Unfortunately, he couldn't finish his sentence. Lin Jun waved his hand. Don't say anymore. What's more embarrassing is that you lost. If I wasn't here, Ling Er's fate would be obvious. You still have the nerve to get close to her. You don't even want your face anymore. Holly covered his throat and made a string of inaudible noises. He was dizzy from Lin Jun's words and Ling Er's disgusted attitude. Blood flowed out from the gaps of his fingers. He couldn't differentiate reality from illusion and died just like that. When he died, he was a little more clear-headed. He looked at Lin Jun viciously, but there was a trace of excitement in his heart. In the battle in the dimensional universe, Lin Jun was the one who made the first move. Furthermore, he killed all the people from Tong Tian Tower. The cost of the food and drinks, as well as the loss of the bar, would have to be compensated by them. For this meal, they had spent 100 million Three River coins, and the loss to the bar had reached tens of billions. One must know that there had been over 1,000 tables in the hall, and each table had spent a few million to a few hundred million. All of them had been destroyed by them, so naturally, they would be the ones to settle the bill. Including all the facilities in the bar, it was normal for the total cost to be more than 10 billion. Even he couldn't take out this much money. Lin Jun, that poor guy, definitely couldn't take it out either. The operation of the dimensional universe relied on a type of crystal called universe crystal to maintain it. The consumption of these crystals had to be paid with money. All the items generated in the dimensional universe weren't virtual out of thin air. They also required energy and had a cost. Therefore, they couldn't just randomly smash things here. For example, serving them a dish in the fairy forest would cost a bit of energy. After deducting the cost of energy consumption, the bar would earn the rest of the money. It was the same for the other tables and facilities. Logically speaking, this money should be paid by him because he was the one who ordered the meal. But now that he was dead, he couldn't log into the dimensional universe for a month. If they wanted him to pay, they had to directly use his bank card to pay. Forcefully swiping a card, the 100 Rivers Star branch of the universe First Bank had the right to do so. As long as a member of a higher level provided all the information about the dimensional universe to the bank and sent out an application, the bank could forcefully use it and swipe the money from his card. This was to prevent people from reneging on their debt after spending money in the dimensional universe. However, he had nothing to fear now. The card he used was given to him by his father. There was a fund of hundreds of billions in it, but he wasn't allowed to use it. It was the family's reserve fund, so his card had reached the level of a gold member. To forcefully swipe his card, only a platinum member could do so. He didn't believe that there would be a platinum member in a place like the 100 River Star. Only a deposit of 1 trillion was qualified to become a platinum member. Their mining group didn't have a single person who had reached the platinum level. Therefore, without a choice, this money could only be paid by Lin Jun and the others. If they didn't, they would be going against the Dimensional Universe Group. The Dimensional Universe Group was a huge organization that spanned across the universe. It was countless times stronger than the Galactic Beast Alliance. No one dared to go against them. Lin Jun and the others could only obediently fork out the money. He had died once and saved tens of billions. It was worth it. Lin Jun, you bastards. When you can't fork out the money, let's see how you're going to play the hero. When the time comes and you come begging me, I'll definitely humiliate you and not give you any money. With this thought in mind, Holly closed his eyes. Lin Jun didn't care about Holly. After killing Jean Haonan, there weren't many people left in the Tong Tian Tower. He simply killed his way into the crowd again and cooperated with his teammates. After a fierce battle, they finally cleaned up the Tong Tian Tower people. This time, they had completely offended the Tong Tian Tower. However, Lin Jun didn't care. He would offend them sooner or later, so he might as well be decisive. The battle was over. There were about 7 people left in Lin Jun's side. The Tong Tian Tower team was wiped out. When Lin Jun killed the last Tong Tian Tower person, Ling nervously called out, "Big brother Lin, don't." The corpse fell. Lin Jun looked at Ling and asked, "What's wrong? You killed them all. You have to pay for the loss of the bar." Ling was so anxious that she was about to cry. The last thing the bar was afraid of was being destroyed. Although she didn't have to pay for it, she didn't want Lin Jun to pay for it. Lin Jun smiled. "Ling don't worry. I have a solution. Leave the dimensional universe now and come to the fairy forest in the real world in 2 hours. I'll find you there." Ling gritted her teeth and nodded. "Then you must be careful. Don't worry. I won't do anything I'm not sure of." Ling left the dimensional universe, and the boss of the bar walked over. This time, he was very confident. Ling wasn't his property. He couldn't stop the Tong Tian Tower from causing trouble, but the bar was his property. It was protected by the Dimensional Universe Group. No one could destroy it for nothing. "Sir, look, how much is it?" "It's already calculated. 5 billion. Here's the bill." The bill generated by the Dimensional Universe appeared. Everything was listed. It was a very long bill. The other warriors' expressions changed. If they had to pay for it, even if it was shared among everyone, it would still be a huge burden. Lin Jun smiled at the others. "Don't worry. I'll take responsibility for this. Don't worry. Someone will pay for it." After asking the bar owner to wait, Lin Jun asked Xiao Yang beside him, "Shouldn't Holly pay for it?" "Yes, but he can't enter the dimensional universe to pay now. He can only swipe his card through the bank. But his level has to be higher than Holly's to apply. I know he seems to have a gold membership card. There's no other way." Lin Jun turned to the bar owner and said, "I'll give you the dimensional universe number. Go out and get the money. Wait for me." With the dimensional universe number, there was no need to worry about Lin Jun running away. Lin Jun and the others all left the dimensional universe. After leaving the dimensional universe, Lin Jun returned to his room. Walking out of the room, His companions were all here, including Holly. Holly looked at Lin Jun with a trace of arrogance in his resentment. Lin Jun, don't be wishful thinking. I won't pay for it. If you have the ability, go pay for it yourself. Lin Jun snorted. You think I'm here to beg you to pay? Isn't that the case? I heard about it. 10 billion. Lin Jun, I'll remember what you did today. We'll deal with it later. Hee hee. That's what I thought too. However, it's still a bit different from yours. We can't deal with it slowly. We have to deal with it today. We have to deal with it now. What do you mean? Holly was on guard. You'll know soon enough. Lin Jun knew Holly's dimensional universe number and immediately entered the dimensional universe again. He saved a screenshot of the fairy forest incident and then went to the universe first bank branch on 100 River Star. Through Holly's number, he found his bank account. Lin Jun's account was a platinum account. He immediately used Holly's divine emotion to pay for the fairy forest bar's losses. Facing a platinum customer's request, the bank didn't dare to delay and immediately started checking. The evidence was conclusive and the speed was very fast. In less than 5 minutes, 5 billion was transferred from Holly's card. Lin Jun exited the dimensional universe and saw Holly staring at the notification in shock. 10 billion was gone just like that. What's going on? Why was my money forcefully transferred? Lin Jun sneered. Isn't it clear? I submitted a request to the bank for you to pay for the fairy forest losses. Then your money was gone. You have a platinum account. Holly stared in disbelief. Lin Jun didn't answer Holly's retarded question. He turned around and left the villa. Behind him, the sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air could be heard. Wealth is also a kind of power. Many people present can afford this compensation, but it's definitely a huge burden. They all know what a platinum account represents. Only with a deposit of 1 trillion can one obtain a platinum account. 1 trillion Sand River dollars. That was a huge amount of wealth. This unknown Lin Jun in front of them is actually the owner of a platinum account. What kind of identity does he have? It's said that he's a small, feudal lord of the Sky River Empire. But how can a feudal lord of an elementary civilization have such wealth? The warriors present looked at Holly again. They only felt that this person was far from Lin Jun and wasn't worthy of being their leader. Holly gritted his teeth. Losing more than 10 billion, not being able to enter the dimensional universe for a month, and making Ling completely hate him. He's really unlucky today. Lin Jun, you have guts, but don't forget that a warrior's victory or defeat is determined by strength. You humiliated me today. I will pay you back. See you in the World Stone. Holly gritted his teeth and said these words. Just as he was thinking about how to retaliate against Lin Jun, a voice suddenly came from behind. Holly, what's the matter with the bar fight today? The voice was cold. It was Jerry's voice. Although Han Sha and Jerry aren't particularly strong, they represent the Galactic Beast Alliance. No one dares to offend them. Holly couldn't help but tremble. He hurriedly explained. It's Lin Jun. He was the one who took the initiative. Otherwise, such a thing wouldn't have happened. He also, enough. Han Sha roared. If it weren't for Lin Jun, our Galactic Beast Alliance's face would have been lost by you. A dignified intergalactic organization was suppressed by a gang. I think you don't want to participate in the concentration camp under 100 years old. It's not like that. No need to say anymore. You can pack your things and leave now. Our Galactic Beast Alliance doesn't need cowards. Han Sha and Jerry were ruthless. This matter was Holly's fault, not to mention that he had a conflict with Lin Jun. Who is Lin Jun? Chapter 452. Oh my God, big brother, this is simply too luxurious. Ling Er's white, jade-like hands stroked the spaceship as she exclaimed. She knew that the material used to build this spaceship was called Eternity Crystal. She once saw a bar owner give his girlfriend a necklace made of Eternity Crystal. That girlfriend treasured it like a treasure every day and would take it out to show off. That necklace was worth hundreds of millions, and it was indeed very attractive to girls. Linga was also a girl. Of course, she also liked beautiful things and was envious in her heart. However, she didn't even dare to think that someone would actually use this material to build a spaceship. This cheap brother that she had just acknowledged was actually this rich. She couldn't estimate the specific value of the spaceship. She only knew that it should be very expensive, an astronomical figure. Lin Jun smiled as he watched Ling look around the spaceship. This was a very likable girl. The elf race's unique genes gave her unparalleled beauty. Lin Jun couldn't care too much about injustice, but he was still willing to help those that he liked. Ling looked around for a while before returning to Lin Jun's side. She said to Lin Jun, "Big brother, although your spaceship is good, it's too lifeless. It would be better if you decorated it with some flowers and plants." Ling, you can decorate it according to what you like. Really? I can really do that? Linger opened her eyes in surprise. It's just a spaceship. Why not? Lin Jun smiled. Ah, thank you, big brother. Ling hugged Lin Jun's neck enthusiastically and smiled like a child. Lin Jun smiled and gently pushed Linger away. It wasn't that he didn't like her, but this was his clone now. Linger was such a beautiful girl. Even if Lin Jun didn't want to do anything to her at first, he was still a man. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. Since he had feelings for her, he couldn't let others touch her, not even his avatar. On the other hand, Linger felt a little wronged when she was pushed away. Her big eyes were a little unhappy. She lowered her little head and sat to the side without saying anything. Helpless, Lin Jun could only tell her that this was a doppelganger, causing Linger to burst into laughter. Her eyes were filled with ridicule, as if she was saying that Lin Jun was a petty person. However, she knew her limits and didn't have any more intimate contact with Lin Jun's clone. The spaceship entered the parallel universe and quickly headed for 100 River Star. "Sir, the price of the black iron essence here is absolutely fair. Each gram costs $500. You won't be able to find a lower price in the entire 100 River Star." "Oh, are you that confident?" To tell you the truth, we get the goods directly from the resource planet. Also, we have people in the mining group. This saves us a lot of trouble. The cost is low, and the price is low. That's why I'm so confident. How much do you want? If I want a lot, can it still be cheap? If it's a lot, we can study it." Lin Jun calculated for a while. His main body was the black hole beast gene. Other than cultivation, he needed a large amount of metal that contained energy to absorb the internal energy and convert it into astral power to advance. Crazy had already given Lin Jun a list of metals that he needed to absorb. He wanted to start with the lowest grade of black iron essence. He could try to absorb 10 tons on his first try. $500 per gram. 1 kilogram would be $500,000. 1 ton would be $500 million. 10 tons would be $5 billion. Lin Jun thought for a while. $400 per gram. I want 10 tons at once. If the effect is good, I will buy in bulk. The metal dealer's eyes instantly widened. He didn't expect Lin Jun to be so generous and bargain so ruthlessly. He calculated the profits. Although the profits weren't large, the quantity was large enough. In order to rope in Lin Jun, this big customer, he was going all out. "Deal, but I want cash." "Of course. I could transfer the money to you now. Prepare the black iron essence." The two of them quickly completed the transaction. These metal dealers' warehouses were interspatial rings. Each interspatial ring could store countless metals. He had a total of 10 interspatial rings on his hand. For $1 billion of 3 river dollars was transferred. 10 tons of black iron essence was in his hands. Lin Jun bought a standalone villa on the 100 Rivers planet. The facilities weren't too luxurious, but was big enough. It took up an area of 10 square kilometers so that he wouldn't be disturbed. In the courtyard of the villa, he put down the 10 tons of black iron essence and sat cross-legged on it. His current realm had stabilized at the peak of the 6th stage of the meteor realm. He wanted to try to break through. 10 tons sounded like a lot, but it was actually just a small pile. It was like a box piled there. As Lin Jun sat there, he had a feeling of hunger. He didn't want to eat food, but he wanted to eat this pile of metals. He sat cross-legged on it, and black scales involuntarily appeared on his body. His outer clothes were easily torn apart. Lin Jun turned into a black qilin. The black hole beast was about to eat. A terrifying aura started to spread from his body. Lin Jun immersed himself in it. Above his head, a light spot started to flicker. It was the naked singularity, the birthplace of the black hole. After the naked singularity appeared, the surrounding black light started to flicker. The space started to collapse and rotate automatically. A small man-made black hole appeared. The energy within the black iron essence was attracted by the black hole and started to pour into it. Streams of black energy flowed upwards like water, forming a protective layer that enveloped Lin Jun. This protective layer was completely made of flowing metal. Even missiles couldn't blast it open. CSI. The process proceeded silently. The black iron essence started to become lighter and lighter, turning into ordinary black iron. As for Lin Jun's stagnant cultivation level, it had once again improved. When half of the black iron essence's energy was absorbed, Lin Jun broke through the barrier of the 6th stage of the meteor realm. He directly entered the 7th stage of the meteor realm. Amazing! What a perverted black hole beast! Lin Jun was overwhelmed with emotions. No wonder it was a mutated galactic beast that was stronger than a supergalactic beast. Just this leveling speed alone was something that no other person, race, or galactic beast could compare to. Lin Jun also knew why he had this gene. The black hole beast was a mutated Qilin. He had Xiaowan's blood in his body. Moreover, his soul had passed through a black hole. A black hole had even formed in the dark star. All these rare opportunities had allowed him to have the black hole beast gene. As long as I have this leveling talent, any genius would be trash in front of me. About an hour later, the pile of black iron essence was completely absorbed and turned into ordinary iron without any energy. Lin Jun opened his eyes, and a dim light flashed in his eyes. His realm had already reached the mid-7th stage of the meteor realm. I've finally reached the late stage of the meteor realm. However, after I absorb this time, I still need about a month to digest it before I can absorb it again. Right now, I only need black iron essence. When I reach the comet realm, I will need fire copper essence. Furthermore, the cost of each absorption will be twice as expensive as the previous one. The first absorption already requires 4 billion Three River dollars. The further I go, the more money I will need. When I reach the planet realm and the star realm, I will need a huge amount of money. Lin Jun stood up. The Eternity Crystal spaceship had already returned. Ling alighted from a spaceship and saw Lin Jun in the courtyard. She knew that this was her brother's main body and immediately flew over like a little swallow. Lin Jun opened his arms and gently hugged Ling. Ling, you and I have only met by chance, but it can be considered fate. In the future, I will take care of you until you get married. Ling lowered her head and thought for a while. Then, she suddenly raised her head and said, Brother, the way you lie is very interesting. Lin Jun rubbed his nose a little awkwardly. He had wanted to test Ling's feelings, but he didn't expect this mischievous little girl to see through him with one glance. Don't laugh at me. Looking at her crystal clear and pointy ears that were different from humans, Lin Jun could not help but pinch them. Ling cried out in alarm and retreated, her face flushed red. Lin Jun realized that he was rude. An elf girl's ears were the most sensitive part. It was like a human girl's forbidden area. Other than their lover, they could not touch it. Lin Jun laughed awkwardly. Ling, we will live here in the future. You are the mistress of this place. You can plant any flowers or trees. You can decorate it however you like. Lin Jun spent 4 billion on this villa. It occupied a large area and even had a spring and a man-made lake. Linger fell in love with it when she saw it. Especially when Lin Jun said that she was the mistress of this place, she felt a sense of belonging. And I will decorate it well. This is our home. Lin Jun gave Ling a card with 50 billion Three River dollars in it. She could spend as much as she wanted. Ling, it was also a Wei Zhou. She was about to enter the planetary stage. She was a true genius. Cultivation required money too. Ling did not stand on ceremony with Lin Jun. She took the card and went to look around her new home. At this moment, she felt that she was the happiest person in the world. It was her fortune to have met Lin Jun. However, elven girls were indifferent by nature. As long as she could be by Lin Jun's side, it was enough. She did not care much about money. Seeing how happy Ling was, Lin Jun was also in a good mood. However, he did not relax at all. He already knew about Holly being evicted. Lin Jun also felt a lot of pressure on his shoulders. If the World Stone didn't produce any results, he would have let them down. Chapter 453. The Azura Field's simulated field was the best place to train. Here, as long as you were willing to spend money, you could simulate any environment you wanted and even any opponent. At the current stage, money was not a problem for Lin Jun, so he could use the simulated field to his heart's content. Master, this is the simulated field. After Lin Jun arrived at the Azura Field, he looked at the empty space in front of him, and Chris explained to him from the side. Tell me about the plan you made for me. It's like this, Master. For the time being, you don't need to spend time to cultivate your realm. You only need time to hone your skills. You need to improve your combat ability in a sea of battles. According to your request, I did a systematic analysis for you. First, your spear art. Currently, you have mastered the 9-layered spear river, thunderkill, meteor, and so on. It should be sorted out and integrated into a set of unique spear art that belongs to you. And today, I bought a Starfall secret book in a mall. This is the 7th style of a 9-layered spear river. You can also integrate it into your new spear art. Lin Jun nodded. Being able to buy Starfall was indeed a big surprise, but he still needed time to familiarize himself with the practice. Then how should I choose a battle? I currently recommend that you challenge a designated battle scene, Chris said, and a row of subtitles appeared in front of Lin Jun. These are the designated environments in the simulated field. You can choose to pass through these scenes. The endless battles inside can quickly improve your combat ability. Lin Jun looked at the row of subtitles. There are all kinds of environments: Elven Forest, Dwarf Cave, Dragon Mountain Range, Hell Demon Tribe, Bottomless Abyss, Zombie Siege, and so on. Moreover, each map had a difficulty level, which was Normal, Nightmare, Hell, and Purgatory. What's the difference between these 4 difficulties? Of course there's a difference. Normal difficulty is simple. Although the monsters and enemies inside are the same, the difference in strength is like heaven and earth. Let's put it this way. Normal difficulty, if 10,000 people enter, at least 5,000 people have the strength to pass through. Nightmare difficulty is different. If 10,000 people enter, it's already not bad if 100 people can pass through. Hell difficulty is prepared for the true geniuses. Out of 10,000 people, only a few will be able to clear it. Lin Jun smiled. Then in Purgatory difficulty, maybe only 1 person out of 10,000 can clear it. Unexpectedly, Chris said, no, for Purgatory difficulty, let alone 10,000 people, even if 100 million people enter, there might not be 1 person who can clear it. That difficult? Lin Jun was stunned. That's right. This is the highest difficulty level in the Stellar stage. Of course, Master, you can also choose the Comet stage or the Satellite stage. In that case, it shouldn't be difficult for you to pass. Lin Jun shook his head. That's impossible. After I entered the World Stone, the enemies I faced were all at the Star stage. Lowering the difficulty now won't do me any good. Since Master has decided, you can make your choice now. Lin Jun thought for a moment. Normal difficulty definitely won't do. It's not challenging for me. I'll try Nightmare difficulty first. You said that 100 out of 10,000 people can clear it. I should be able to do it. Master, I forgot to emphasize one point. Basically, none of you can clear it on your first try. You have to familiarize yourself with it before you can do it step by step. If you choose Nightmare difficulty on your first try, the success rate is 1 in a million. Lin Jun nodded. He knew the concept of 1 in a million. There weren't any random people who could come to the simulation field. They were all geniuses among geniuses. Out of a million geniuses, only 1 could clear it on their first try. Although Lin Jun was arrogant, he knew how difficult it was. Master, if you can clear a map in Hell difficulty within a year, then you could be considered a top genius. You'll definitely be at the top of the Stellar stage, so don't be impatient. Don't worry, I'm not someone who can't afford to lose. There's no one in this world who can always win. I'll take it 1 step at a time. Lin Jun looked at the hundreds of designated maps. He pointed at one of them and said, "What does Zombie Siege mean?" Zombie Siege means that a disaster has happened on a planet. Humans have become powerful zombies, and there are enemies everywhere. Also, you can't get hurt in this map because the virus of the zombies is contagious. You'll become a zombie after 10 minutes of being poisoned. It's very difficult. I'm immune to poison, and after transforming into armor, my scales are even more impenetrable. How can I get hurt? Once you enter this designated map, your immunity to poison will be nullified. You won't be able to use your scales, and you won't be able to use your psychic power to attack zombies. It's also a no-fly zone. Are you sure you want to enter? Enter. A martial artist should be able to fight in any environment. This will be a good way to hone my spear skills. Lin Jun confirmed his choice to enter, and Chris immediately activated it. Confirm to enter the simulation field. Zombie Siege, transmitting data, enter. The final mission is to kill the level 5 zombie king in the central square of the city and rescue at least 50 survivors. The scenery in front of Lin Jun changed, and a city similar to the A.D. era appeared. He stood on a remote path in the city. There was a layer of light here. After rescuing the survivors and bringing them here, they would be considered to be in a safe zone. There were beast-like roars coming from everywhere in the city. Those are the so-called zombies. This environment is really realistic. It doesn't feel like a virtual environment at all. Lin Jun lowered his head. He was still wearing the same clothes as when he came in, but the scenery had changed. He raised his hand, and the yin-yang spear appeared in his hand. He tried to use his psychic power, but found that he couldn't fly. However, psychic attacks and throwing knives could still be used. However, psychic attacks were useless here. According to the information, these zombies were the living dead without intelligence. Well, I'll take my time. My spear is good for fighting here. A few wandering zombies walked over. They were very fast, faster than a normal person running. However, in Lin Jun's eyes, they were nothing. The spear shook and a few cold rays of light shot out. A bloody hole appeared on the head of each zombie. It's not that good. Lin Jun increased his speed and rushed into the city. The zombies he encountered on the way were all killed with a single stab. Lin Jun became more and more relaxed. Lin Jun would occasionally come across survivors, and he would bring them back. In less than 3 hours, he had already rescued 20 survivors. Looks like today's mission will be completed very easily. Chris said that the success rate was 1 in a million. That a bit exaggerated. A group of zombies ran over. In the middle of Lin Jun's attack, one of the zombies suddenly sped up. This attack was very sudden. Lin Jun was caught off guard, and a bloody wound appeared on his chest. Crap, this is an agile zombie. It's a level 2 zombie. I was too careless. The strong virus immediately began to attack Lin Jun's nerves. He immediately knew that he had failed this challenge. Lin Jun did not continue to be entangled here. This time, he calmly attacked and easily killed the level 2 zombie. Afterwards, he exited the simulated reality field. That level 2 zombie's attack speed is definitely faster than the speed of sound. This is only level 2 in nightmare difficulty. It looks like the strength of these zombies far surpasses the zombie documentaries of the AD calendar. I was too careless. Lin Jun summarized the experience of his previous failure and entered the simulated reality field for the second time. The second time, Lin Jun saved 40 survivors. However, in a chaotic battle with a group of zombies, he was hit by a level 4 zombie and failed again. This time, the chaotic battle revealed some of his shortcomings. His spear technique was not sharp enough in a group battle. Before, he had the scale armor, his body was strong enough, and he was immune to poison. Naturally, he did not care about these kinds of attacks. However, this also had its benefits. Only in this kind of situation could he truly hone his spear technique. After thinking about this point, Lin Jun was not in a hurry to pass the stage. This kind of opportunity was very rare, and he wanted to carefully experience it. The third time, Lin Jun completed it better. He saved the survivors and easily killed a large group of zombies. It was only when he encountered a level 5 zombie king that he was eliminated again. Through this battle, Lin Jun's understanding of the spear technique increased by another level. Before, I paid attention to the lethality of the spear technique, the ability to attack, and the powerful killing moves. However, due to my body's constitution, I somewhat neglected defense. Every time I won a battle, I would often be injured. In the future, my opponents will become stronger and stronger. This kind of situation must be avoided. Accuracy, continuous attacks, and dodging. These are the skills that I need to hone now. However, this nightmare difficulty is not too difficult. I will pass it today and then go to hell. That is the real challenge. On the fourth time, Lin Jun killed a level 5 zombie king and successfully passed the nightmare difficulty. After passing it, Lin Jun thought that Crazy would praise him. However, he did not expect Crazy to just say indifferently, "You actually only passed the nightmare difficulty after 4 tries. Your results are average. If this goes on, I have no confidence in you being able to pass the hell difficulty in a year." Lin Jun was somewhat unconvinced. It was just a little difficult. Was there a need to exaggerate so much? After that, Lin Jun entered the hell difficulty zombie siege, but he did not expect that the difficulty would increase by 100 times. The ordinary zombies that originally had some strength were actually comparable to the planet realm martial artists. The level 2 zombies were actually at the peak of the planet realm. The level 3 zombies had the strength of the star realm. Facing the huge city in front of him and the sea of zombies everywhere in the city, Lin Jun licked his lips. This is going to be fun. No wonder Crazy said that if I can pass the hell difficulty in a year, I will be considered a top genius. I can't use my spiritual power to attack, and I can't fly. My biggest trump card is restricted. It is too difficult to pass this stage. Chapter 454. After Lin Jun entered hell mode, every day was filled with failures and challenges. In the first month, Lin Jun's best result was only 15%. However, after a month, Lin Jun's main body had completely absorbed the first batch of mysterious iron essence and could start the second round. The second time, Lin Jun spent 8 billion Sanjiang dollars for the mysterious iron essence. This wasn't a lot, and Lin Jun could afford it. After absorbing the mysterious iron essence, Lin Jun's realm broke through again and reached the middle stage of level 8 meteor. Right now, he didn't spend a lot of money, but Lin Jun knew that after entering the comet stage, his spending would increase exponentially. After leveling up, Lin Jun once again challenged Hell Mode's zombie siege. After a month, he reached 32% progress. After that, he spent 16 billion to buy the mysterious iron essence and leveled up to level 9 meteor to challenge it again. After reaching 50% progress and spending 32 billion, Lin Jun finally made a huge breakthrough and successfully entered the comet stage. After his main body entered the comet stage, Lin Jun's clone also entered the star stage. However, Lin Jun never revealed his clone. This was an important thing for him to rely on after entering the World Stone. During this period of time, Han Sha and the others would occasionally ask about Lin Jun's situation, but Lin Jun would use the excuse that he was busy cultivating to not meet with them. He didn't want to be disturbed during this period of time, nor did he want others to see his rapid improvement. After entering the comet stage, Lin Jun's star power once again doubled. This breakthrough caused Lin Jun's strength to increase by leaps and bounds. With the increase in strength, Lin Jun reached 99% completion in Hell mode in one go. He only lost when he challenged the Zombie King at the end. This result also shocked Crazy. From that day onwards, Lin Jun found the best training partner for his shooting, which was the Zombie King in Hell mode. Every time he reached this stage, Lin Jun would have a great battle with his Zombie King. This was a zombie with both agility and strength. Its strength had reached the pinnacle of the stellar stage, which was a half step into the black hole realm. Lin Jun was no match for it first, but as time went by, he was gradually able to fight it both offensively and defensively. In the fourth month, Lin Jun bought 10 tons of fire copper essence from a metal dealer. The price of fire copper essence was 5,000 per gram. Lin Jun had spent 40 billion for the first absorption, which was 10 times more than what he had spent during the meteor stage. It was already useless to absorb the mysterious iron essence during the comet stage. Lin Jun roughly calculated that with the tens of billions of Qilin coins he currently had, he would eventually be able to cultivate to Comet Grade 9. Back in the week's training, he would need mithril essence. At that time, he would have to spend more than half of his money. Forget it. Money is just a worldly possession. It's better to raise the realm as soon as possible. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Lin Jun sat cross-legged on top of a tall building in the ruins of the city. His body was floating with starlight, and his long hair was dancing in the wind. Under his feet was the central square of the city. Zombies were wandering around, and the zombie king that he had fought countless times was entrenched in the center. The yin-yang spear was in front of him, and the 7-star blade was dancing around him. It was like a rotating blade array, protecting Lin Jun within. My spear skills have been honed for 7 months, and it's finally time for me to master them. 7 types of energy elements, the power of time, the power of space, and all my understanding can be reflected in one shot. With the power of space and the acceleration of time, my spear art can appear and disappear like a ghost. It's hard to distinguish the real from the fake. Moreover, I can freely switch between the energy elements. All the changes are within my thoughts. Even the gods can't accurately judge. If I have to give a name to my spear art, then I'll call it Illusion God. Lin Jun held the yin-yang spear and jumped down from the top of the tall building. Although he couldn't fly here, with Lin Jun's physique, this level of jump was still very easy. Head down, feet up, he went straight to the ground. When he was close to the ground, his body flipped lightly and landed lightly. The zombies that smelled the human's scent immediately howled and rushed over from all directions. With a move of his mental power, the 7-star blade crisscrossed, creating a string of electric light in the air. After the energy elements wreaked havoc, the ground was covered with zombie corpses. These stellar stage level 3 and level 4 zombies couldn't even block Lin Jun's blade. This attack killed all of the zombie king's underlings. Lin Jun held the spear and went straight to the zombie king. The zombie king was covered in iron armor, and his speed reached 100 times the speed of sound. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Lin Jun, feeling the fishy smell coming at him. Lin Jun was calm and composed. He took 2 steps back, focused his mind, and stabbed out with the yin-yang spear. A fast spear, a fierce spear, a spear that couldn't be dodged. Illusion God strike. While the spear was moving forward, it suddenly accelerated. All of the energy was concentrated at one point. The zombie king's carapace that was comparable to a divine artifact couldn't withstand Lin Jun's illusion God strike. It couldn't even react before the spear pierced through its throat. The power of space spread on the tip of the spear and directly cut off the zombie king's head. This was the first time Lin Jun killed a Hell Mode zombie king, and he only used one move. Success. I knew it. Once I truly mastered my own unique spear technique, I would have very few enemies in the Stargrade stage. Although I only comprehended one spear, this spear is enough to defeat too many people, even those in the black hole stage. This Hell Mode is no longer a challenge for me. Next, I'll try to challenge Purgatory. Lin Jun used 7 months to clear the Hell Mode zombie siege. This result made Crazy speechless. Moreover, Lin Jun had also advanced to Comet Level 4, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, when challenging Purgatory, Lin Jun once again encountered a strong challenge. The lowest level zombies here were at the Stellar stage. Level 3 zombies were at the peak of the Stellar stage, while Level 4 zombies were at the Black Hole stage. Level 5 zombie kings were at the peak of the Black Hole stage. Crazy told Lin Jun, frankly, that to clear Purgatory was almost impossible for a Stellar stage cultivator. At the very least, in the entire Sanjiang Federation, there was no Stellar stage cultivator who could completely clear Purgatory's map. Lin Jun didn't know how many people in the Sanjiang Federation had challenged Purgatory, but there was no doubt that it was an astronomical number. Among so many people, there wasn't a single complete Purgatory. This gave Lin Jun a new understanding of Purgatory's difficulty. However, he liked challenges. The more difficult it was, the more he could train himself. During this period of time, not only did his star power increase, but his spirit power had also become stronger after a long period of life and death battles. Currently, In his spiritual sea, his Azure Spirit power had reached 70%, which was considered the late stage of Azure Spirit. There's still 4 months before I enter the World Stone. I hope that in these 4 months, I can still improve my state and strength. Otherwise, I won't be able to stand in the World Stone. Purgatory's progress was as slow as a snail. Lin Jun's first challenge only reached 5% before he was defeated by a large group of stellar state zombies. Such an environment piqued Lin Jun's interest, and a new round of challenges began. Time slowly passed, and 3 more months passed. The World Stone Challenge had attracted a lot of attention from the Sanjiang Federation. This piece of World Stone also had a great background. It was well known that the World Stone was evolved from an astral level master's inner world after his death. An astral level master was a world king. They were the strongest power of a high-level universe country. For example, in the Fire Qilin Empire, only the Emperor, Tian Haoyu, was recognized as an astral level master. It was unknown how many years an astral boundary expert had lived. Most of his treasures were left in the World Stone. This was a much safer place than a spatial ring. Unless he died, no one would be able to take it. The owner of this World Stone was called Yin Jun. He lived for millions of years, but died in a battle. He cultivated the power of darkness. It was said that he set up the Netherworld realm in the World Stone. His life's savings were left in the Netherworld realm. The wealth in this World Stone was something that even a World King level master would covet, let alone a normal martial artist. But after the World King died, the World Stone had a repulsive force. If a Nebula level master and above tried to force their way in, the Netherworld realm would automatically collapse, and the person who went in wouldn't be able to get anything. And within the Netherworld realm, there were large amounts of ghosts left behind by Yin Jun World King. Anyone below the Nebula level who went in would be doomed. After this World Stone fell into the hands of the Sanjiang Federation, many people were sent in to collect the treasures of Yin Jun World King, but they all died in the World Stone. The only black hole level master came out alive and told them about the situation inside the World Stone. After many discussions, everyone came to an agreement. The test to go to the Fire Qilin Empire would be placed in the World Stone. This was an arena where people from various factions would fight against each other for 3 months. The person who came out at the end and obtained the most cosmos crystals would be the victor. The top 20 winners would have the qualifications to enter the Fire Qilin Empire's camp for those under 100 years old. Universe crystals were the universe's largest energy source. They had a wide range of uses, but they would only appear when a new world was opened. Besides the expansion of a universe itself, only the World Stone would produce these things. A small universe crystal, the size of a soybean, was worth 100,000 Qilin coins. What all the great influences wanted the most was the universe crystals in the World Stone. As for the other treasures of Yin Jun World King, they would belong to whoever found them. As time passed, the participants arrived at 100 River Star, waiting for the World Stone Challenge to begin. Chapter 455. Phew, Purgatory is too hard. I've already reached Comet Level 8, but my completion rate is only 19%. I can't even reach 20%. Lin Jun put away his yin-yang spear and sighed at the perverse difficulty of Purgatory. Master, don't be greedy. You have to know that you're only at Comet level. Other people at your level are still in normal difficulty, but you've already reached Purgatory. Lin Jun froze. He realized that he had unknowingly led people at the same level by so much. Don't even mention Comet level. Lin Jun didn't even care about normal star level cultivators. After all, he wasn't just a Comet level cultivator. He had the Dark Star in his body. With the combination of the 2 star forces, his star power was comparable to normal star level cultivators. With his various tricks, it would be hard to find a match for him in the star level. Lin Jun calculated the time. There was only 1 month left until the World Stone began. Time really flies. In the blink of an eye, another year has passed. I've already been training in the simulation field for 10 months. Master, do you want to go out now? Chris asked. Let's not go out yet. There's still a month left. I've calculated that I can use this time to break through to Comet Level 9 and go out then. There's still a few days left. It's enough for me to prepare. Master, I suggest you buy mithril essence now. After you break through to Comet level 9 and use Fire Copper Essence once, you'll break through to Satellite level. It'll take 3 months in the World Stone. You need to buy mithril essence for the first 2 times. Lin Jun nodded. In his Dark Star space, he had used all his Qilin coins to exchange for 3 river dollars to buy Fire Copper Essence. 60 billion Qilin coins. Exchanging for 3 river dollars was 60 trillion. He'd spent it just like that. Am I right? I'll buy it. But mithril essence is too expensive. 100,000 per gram. Training in the Satellite level has basically emptied my wallet. Master, as long as you have the power, you can get it no matter how much money you want. This World Stone is an opportunity. That's why power is the most important thing. You're right. Let's buy it now. During this period of time, Lin Jun didn't completely cultivate. When he had nothing else to do, he would exchange the currencies of the various high-grade universe countries into Qilin dollars. Now that he had exchange for Qilin coins again, Lin Jun had bought enough mithril essence to cultivate to the planet star stage. The high-level universe country currency he obtained from the World Stone had been used up by over half. Other than leaving behind 100 million each as a souvenir, Lin Jun only had 100 billion Qilin dollars left. Although 100 billion Qilin coins is enough, compared to before, it's like going back to before liberation. While Lin Jun was buying the mithril essence, he took the time to check out the situation outside. Right now, the 100 River Star was in a state of turmoil. The number of people from the various major powers participating in the World Stone Challenge was simply as many as the hairs on an ox. They had recruited experts from all over the world and spared no expense to recruit them. They were planning to make enough profits from this war. When the experts gathered together, there would be more fights. At this time, the Galactic Beast Alliance that Lin Jun was in didn't do much. This was because the Galactic Beast Alliance mainly looked at genes. Only those with the right genes would be able to enter. Hence, there were very few of them, making them seem weak. The other powers also didn't put the Galactic Beast Alliance in their eyes. Hence, during this period of time, the news outside was about the deeds of certain experts. Some of them had already shone brightly and stood out. They were hailed as strong contenders for the World Stone winner. Lin Jun didn't have time to care about the outside world for now. He used the last month to train hard. Latest news, the World Stone map has been exposed. Yellow Springs Ghastly Lands Complete Guide, internal information, $1,000 a copy. Be careful of Tong Tian Tower's enemies. Jin Hao Nan said that he will snipe their enemies at the River of 3 Roads. Dragon Totem's experts have all appeared. This means that they will obtain at least 5 spots in the top 20. The only expert Holly has been expelled. The Galactic Beast Alliance's talents have withered this year. Everyone is looking down on them. I'm afraid they won't be able to get anything. News about the World Stone flooded the internet, covering the sky and covering the earth. In addition to the statements of the various powers, a lot of information about the experts was also spread. Almost every power had a leader and a key target. In order to ensure that these key people could walk out of the Yellow Springs Ghastly Land smoothly, the various powers sent out many experts to protect them. For the World Stone this time, the strongest person was at the black hole stage. The weakest person was at the peak of the planet stage. Ghosts ran rampant in the Yellow Springs Ghastly Land. This wasn't a virtual environment. It was the real world. Once one failed here, they would most likely face death. However, most of the people selling maps on the internet weren't reliable. Only one person in the black hole stage had seen the situation inside the World Stone, and that person had died not long after coming out. It could be said that no one knew the specific situation. Based on what that person said, people roughly described some scenes. Legends about the River of 3 Roads, the Judgment Platform, the 6 Paths of Reincarnation, the Underground Palace, the Road of No Return, etc., filled people with anticipation for the World Stone. As the day of the competition drew closer, the various forces made their preparations and instilled knowledge into the participants at any time, whose priority was to break through the encirclement and whose priority was to protect. Over at the Galactic Beast Alliance, Han Sha gathered everyone together for a final talk. There were now over 100 people in the Galactic Beast Alliance. Han Sha realized that they were too few and too weak. They gathered the people they thought were good, but they weren't the focus of the training. They were the second batch of students. In the second batch of students, there was actually a talented one called Hong Hao, who came from a universe country with a beginner civilization. He was able to obtain a mid-level Galaxy Beast Flash B gene fluid, which was a pleasant surprise for Han Sha. There are 3 more days until the World Stone opens. I want to remind everyone that your enemies aren't just the ghosts of the Yellow Springs ghastly land. There are other contestants. As competitors, if you die in the World Stone, no one will be able to avenge you. There are 2 places you should pay attention to. One is Sky Tower, and the other is Sky Awaken Mining Group. The contestants from these 2 places are hostile to us. At this time, a new student said, "We know that we offended Sky Tower because Lin Jun and Holly fought with them in the dimensional universe. We offended Sky Tower because Holly was expelled." Yeah, I heard that too. Teacher, did you expel Holly because of Lin Jun? Otherwise, how come nothing happened to Lin Jun? The competition is about to begin, but he still hasn't returned. Lin Jun was the one who started the fight. I heard that he forced Holly to pay for the bar. Why are we the scapegoat for his wrongdoings? The relationship between the new students and the old students wasn't good, especially when they saw that the strongest of the old students was Tai Shan, who had obtained the low-level Galactic Beast gene fluid. They looked down on the old students. Han Bo was surrounded by a lot of people. As the winner of the mid-level Galactic Beast gene fluid, he had become the leader of many people. Hearing these people's complaints, before Han Sha could say anything, Hong Bo waved his hand and said, "Don't talk nonsense. If you have the time to complain, why don't you practice? As long as you have the power, you don't need to take the blame for anyone. Boss Hong Bo, you're the best. After we enter the World Stone, I'll follow you. I heard that Lin Jun only obtained the low-level Galactic Beast gene fluid. How can he compare to Boss Hong Bo? Yeah, I heard that more than 200,000 people will enter the World Stone. I don't think I have the power to stand out. I can only follow the strong." Without a doubt, Boss Hong Bo is a strong person. At least, he's much stronger than Lin Jun. The old students didn't say anything. There was an invisible gap between the new students and the old students. They didn't think highly of each other. The new students were led by Hong Bo, but the old students were waiting for Lin Jun to come back. As for Lin Jun's power, the old students secretly talked to each other. Chao Yang said that Lin Jun's power was unfathomable. During the battle in the fairy forest, no one saw Lin Jun use his full power, but they felt that he was very strong. With Holly's matter, the old students secretly guessed that Lin Jun might have obtained the high-level Galactic Beast gene fluid and that Han Sha and Jerry were hiding it. Han Sha continued, "After you enter the World Stone, don't rush to go deeper. There's still 3 months. Remember, the most important thing is to find the universe crystal. A small universe crystal is worth 100,000 Chilean dollars, which is 100 million Three River dollars. If you can find tens of thousands of them, you'll be rich. Teacher, besides finding the universe crystal, what if we find the treasure left behind by Yin Jun Kai King? It'll belong to us." "Yes, but I advise you to keep a low profile. The Kai King's treasure can be obtained with your life, but I'm afraid you won't be able to use it. Don't be discovered." "Understood. I heard that in the Yellow Springs netherworld, every place with a name has a Kai King's treasure. I must look for it carefully." Looking at the excited martial artists, Han Sha didn't give too many instructions. In his heart, it would be good if these people could get good results, but if they couldn't, it wouldn't be a big deal. He just needed to ensure that Lin Jun could succeed. Calculating the time, Lin Jun should be back soon. He had just talked to Lin Jun yesterday, and he said that he would come out of seclusion today. They hadn't seen each other for 11 months. He didn't know what level Lin Jun had reached in his cultivation. 2 days passed like this. On the morning of the 3rd day, which was the day they were about to enter the World Stone, Han Sha received a message from Lin Jun's dimensional universe. "Mr. Han Sha, I've finished my cultivation. I didn't go back to your place because I was in a hurry. Instead, I came directly to the entrance of the World Stone. You can come here to find me." Han Sha's heart that had been on edge for the past few days finally relaxed. Lin Jun had finally caught up. Chapter 456. The Hundred River Star Council was the heart of the entire Sanjiang Federation. Every country and every power's representatives were council members here. They decided everything in the Federation together. And in the courtyard in front of the council building, there was a stone shining with green light placed in the center. It was protected by an energy shield. There were also strict guards around it, preventing others from getting close. This was a world stone, Yin Jun Kai's world stone. After it landed on the Hundred River Star, it became the entire Federation's treasure. Putting it in the most obvious place, it was also to make it easier to guard. No one could take this world stone away in front of everyone. If it wasn't for the fact that this world stone could only allow people in the black hole stage to enter, the council wouldn't be willing to take it out as the selection ground for people under 100 years old. Today was the day of the selection who would be lucky enough to become the 20 lucky people to go to the Fire Chilan Empire. They would all be born in this world stone. People from all the big powers gathered here. The bigger powers even gathered over 10,000 people. The smaller ones only had a few to a dozen people. There were even many people who went in alone. As long as they could go in and come out safely, they would probably be able to find some cosmos crystals. So there were a total of 200,000 people going into the World Stone this time. Only 100,000 of them came from the big powers. The other 100,000 were lone warriors without any power. If they wanted to go in, they would have to pay $1 billion each. Even so, there were still people who wanted to go in like a flock of ducks. The 100,000 spots were all taken in a day. This selection hadn't even started yet. The Federation had already earned $1 trillion. Han Sha brought the 50 people from the Giant Beast Alliance to the council building. This building was very big. Hundreds of thousands of people seemed sparse here. Lin Jun is over there. Chao Yang was the first to see Lin Jun. He immediately called out loudly. Lin Jun was observing the World Stone from afar. When he heard Chao Yang's call, he turned around and walked towards the people from the Giant Beast Alliance. Han Sha and Jerry sized up Lin Jun. They felt that Lin Jun's strength seemed to have improved, but they couldn't tell how. Previously, when they looked at Lin Jun's realm, it seemed that he was only at the meteor stage. However, the strength that Lin Jun displayed was definitely above the meteor stage. Everyone who looked at his realm felt like they were looking at flowers in a fog. As expected, when he looked at Lin Jun again today, he actually felt that he was a level 9 comet. Han Sha and Jerry would never believe that this was the result of Lin Jun's cultivation during this period of time. After all, no matter how much he cultivated, no matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to improve so much in less than a year. The only explanation was that Lin Jun was hiding his strength. He was deliberately concealing his cultivation level. Although he didn't know what method he used, he did it. Perhaps he was hiding his strength during the comet stage as well. Who knows? Lin Jun, how do you feel about your cultivation recently? Han Sha asked in a low voice. It should be good. That's good. I've discussed it with Jerry. After you go in, it's best if you go in quietly by yourself. Don't be together with too many people, and don't encounter any large groups. Ensuring your safety is the most important. As long as you can come out of the World Stone, no matter what rank you get, we will bring you to the Fire Chilan Empire. Lin Jun nodded. Don't worry, I will definitely ensure my safety. And also be careful of Tong Tian Tower and Heaven Awakened Mining. Tong Tian Tower fought with you guys before. Jin Haonan will take revenge easily. There's also Heaven Awakened Mining. After Holly was chased away by us, he returned to Heaven Awakened Mining and declared that he will definitely take revenge on us. If you are discovered, you will definitely be their first target. Lin Jun nodded again, indicating that he remembered everything. Other than them, there's also Earth Core Jade Tower, Dragon Totem, and Green One Association. These are all underworld organizations. They don't have any psychological pressure when killing people. Be careful not to encounter large groups. Lin Jun said that he remembered everything. In the end, Han Sha also gave Lin Jun some medicine for healing. After thanking Han Sha and Han Sha, there was a call to assemble in the Parliament's courtyard. Everyone began to gather in front of the World Stone. There were people from the army helping to maintain order as they prepared to enter the World Stone. After the long line was formed, an officer loudly said, all of you listen up. The World Stone will last for a total of 3 months. Those who come out after 3 months will not be counted. Everyone knew this because they had to leave for the Fire-Chelan Empire in 3 months. Those who came out later would naturally be eliminated. According to our understanding of the situation, we have already determined that the way to leave the World Stone is to go to the road of no return. But because the only person who has explored the World Stone has already died, no one truly understands the situation. Thus, that place is a completely new world. You are the pioneers of this world, so we can only tell you some things that we already know. Every place with a name will definitely have a World King Yin Jun's treasure. It will belong to whoever obtains it. The Federation will not force you to take it. Of course, if you're willing to sell it to the Federation, we will also give you a good price. Most of the martial artists curled their lips. The Federation might not be able to buy a World King's treasure. These words were better left to deceive a 3-year-old. The representative saw that there was no effect and immediately changed the topic. There are also the very important universe crystals. Half of the universe crystals you obtain will have to be handed over to the Federation. The other half will belong to you. If it is an odd number, the extra one will belong to you. The martial artists present all nodded. They were clear about this situation. The amount of universe crystals determined their ranking in the Yellow Springs netherworld. After counting, half of it would be returned to them. Each of you will have a number plate on your chest. The number plate contains the power of the anti-world. When you are unable to hold on, you can activate this power. After 1 minute, you will be transported out. However, there will be no results, and all the universe crystals you obtain will be handed over. A staff member began to give everyone a number plate. It was quickly completed. This thing could be used to leave the World Stone, but no one would use it lightly. Entering the World Stone was a rare opportunity. If one didn't earn enough, no one would think of coming out. If it was a life and death battle, 1 minute was enough to change many things. Thus, this thing was not an omnipotent talisman. You can enter now. Everyone prepare according to the order. Everyone immediately became nervous. They held their breaths as they waited for the World Stone to open. As the countdown ended, the protective barrier around the World Stone was removed. A dense green light was emitted from it. The green light spread out over tens of meters. The representative shouted, "As long as you enter the green light, you will automatically enter the World Stone. Begin." The first in line was the team from the Dimensional Universe Corporation. This team had 3,000 people. After it began, everyone flew in formation. In a short 3 seconds, everyone entered the green light and disappeared. Following which were the people from the Dimensional Arena. They also disappeared quickly. Following which were the people from the Three River Council, the military, the Galactic Beast Alliance, the 4 big gangs, various large clans, companies, and countless stragglers. The huge crowd was like dumplings. They entered the World Stone from all directions. The number of people in the plaza decreased rapidly. After a few minutes, everyone who wanted to participate had entered. The green light gradually disappeared. From now on, no one could enter. The area was cordoned off. The chairman was personally monitoring. With a Star Domain stage expert here, no one dared to act recklessly. That identity plate not only had the power to counter the world, it also had a recording function. People outside could check their number to see if they were safe. If someone died inside, the number plate would automatically turn black. If you killed many people, the number plate would gradually turn red. However, it would not record who you killed. Lin Jun entered the Yellow Springs Purgatory Realm. Along with him were his companions from the Galactic Beast Alliance. It was still sunny outside, but here it felt like the sky was dark. Looking around, the entire world was gray and foggy. Even with their eyesight, they still felt that the visibility was not high. Wow, this world doesn't seem to have any vitality. A new student was the first to speak. Of course, why else would it be called the Yellow Springs Purgatory Realm? Did you guys realize that there is no way to connect to the dimensional universe here? There's also no way to make calls. This is normal. This is simply another world. How can there be a dimensional universe system? You can only rely on yourself here. Lin Jun stood in place and carefully observed the situation in front of him. Behind them was a white fog. They could not see anything clearly. If they retreated, they would only be walking in circles. The only way was forward. This world forbids flying. There's a gravity field in the sky. The higher you fly, the stronger the gravity. The air was filled with a rotten smell. It was a little fishy and smelly. It added a lot of pressure to the heart. The smell was indescribable. If one had to describe it, it would be the smell of death. Damn, staying here is really uncomfortable. I feel like I can't breathe properly. The 50 of them began to move forward slowly. They had just entered the world stone and had not split up. However, until now, they had not seen anyone else. It seemed that the teams entered together. This way, the teams with more people had a huge advantage. Someone is running over there. It's a woman. A warrior pointed ahead and shouted. After walking for so long, they finally saw a group of people. They seemed to be quite excited. Lin Jin squinted his eyes. His eyesight had been strengthened and was better than others. However, he felt that something was wrong. A group of beautiful women in white clothes seemed to be scared by something. They ran over in a panic and waved their hands at them as if they had something to say. Of the 200,000 people who entered the World Stone, about 10,000 were women. It was normal to meet them. However, Lin Jun felt that these women did not have a proper background. Painted skin. When this name popped into Lin Jun's mind, he immediately raised his guard. Chapter 457. Lin Jun retreated, but most people didn't. Instead, they smiled and looked at the group of women who had suddenly appeared. These women were all at the early stage planet realm. They weren't good enough compared to these ordinary warriors, so they just stood there arrogantly. They were confident that even if the other party had some tricks up their sleeves, they wouldn't be a match for them. Ladies, what's going on? A group of women surrounded them. They all had anxious expressions on their faces, as if they had encountered some hero who had just witnessed injustice. These warriors were originally a little complacent, but after being surrounded by the women, they suddenly smelled a strong, rotting smell. Not good, retreat. Hongbo shouted and was the first to retreat. Some people with fast reactions also retreated quickly, but the people in front were a little too late. Just as they screamed, the beautiful women's skin burst at the same time, and the bloody ghosts inside rushed out with bared fangs and brandished claws. The distance was too close, and the situation happened too suddenly. The people in the outer circle were all attacked. Planet realm ghosts. These warriors used their strongest attacks. Saber lights and sword chi crisscrossed, but it was useless. The ghosts chose to self-destruct at the close distance. Puddles of blood and severed limbs filled the air, and all the ghosts instantly self-destructed, leaving nothing behind. However, the cultivators in the periphery were in a miserable state. 7 people died on the spot, and 9 were injured to varying degrees. Moreover, these ghosts were poisonous. Unlike the poison of ordinary medicines, these poisons contained a strong death chi and corpse poison. After being infected, they would quickly fester. It hurts. My hand is rotting. I can't accept this. I just came to the Yellow Springs netherworld, and I haven't even found a single universe crystal. How can I withdraw like this? These warriors howled, unwilling to be eliminated like this. At this time, Lin Jun stepped forward. It's useless if you don't accept this. This problem is actually very simple. You can either be eliminated or die. Choose. After saying that, Lin Jun stood up and walked into the depths of the fog. Hong Bo faced Lin Jun from behind and said, "Why don't you have any sympathy at all? You're a senior student, yet you don't think of a way to help your companions when they're in such a predicament. Instead, you're here making sarcastic remarks." Lin Jun coldly snorted, "My method is the best choice." The surrounding cultivators were stunned for a moment before falling silent. Indeed, although Lin Jun's words were blunt and hard to accept, it was the best choice and the only choice. No matter how unwilling those martial artists were, they could only accept this outcome. They activated the anti-world power, left the world stone, and were eliminated. They weren't the only ones here. The painted skin ghost could take the form of a human and immediately deceived many people. Of the 200,000 martial artists who had entered the arena, The number was reduced to 170,000 in an instant. The cruel reality made the martial artists sober up a lot, and they also realized the horror of this place. Lin Jun's group continued forward. The path ahead was filled with dense fog, and visibility was extremely low. After the group was ambushed, they became extremely cautious. Occasionally, a faint blue ghost fire would float in the distance, causing them to be nervous for a while. I've seen information from the outside. After entering the World Stone, the first thing we have to walk on is the Yellow Springs Road. That should be the path we're walking on. It should be. The Yellow Springs Road is the outer perimeter of the Netherworld Stone. If we follow the Yellow Springs Road, we'll reach a river called the River of Three Roads. Only after crossing the River of Three Roads can we truly enter the Netherworld Stone. This Yin Jun World King is a freak. How could he create a world stone filled with ghosts? He doesn't want people to enter. The martial artists complained. After walking for a while, there are finally martial artists who couldn't stand the Yellow Springs Road anymore. A martial artist who excelled in the power of light lifted his hand, and a mass of holy light appeared in his hand. Holy light was truly the nemesis of the power of darkness. The thick fog around them immediately retreated and visibility increased. It was like a torch in the dark night. Hongbo praised him for doing well. A few other martial artists followed suit and lit up holy light or flames, causing the light to flourish. Lin Jun glanced at them. You guys are too ostentatious. Although holy light can restrain ghosts, it can easily attract the attacks of others. You should know that our enemies here aren't just ghosts. There are other competitors. Lin Jun, you might be timid, but that doesn't mean we're timid. We have Big Brother Hong here. What are we afraid of? That's right. If you don't like it, you can go further away. The person in charge here is Big Brother Hong. Lin Jun smiled and looked at Chao Yang and Tai Shan and the other old students. These old students were a bit hesitant. They didn't want to leave the group, but they also didn't want Lin Jun to leave. Lin Jun didn't look at them again. After walking for a while, they would reach the River of Three Roads in the Yellow Springs Road. After crossing the river, everyone would go their separate ways. With their vision cleared, the martial artists gradually adapted to the situation in the Yellow Springs Road. They began to shift their attention to finding universe crystals. Hongbo said loudly, "Everyone, pay attention. Look for universe crystals and take them immediately." Boss Hong, how do we distribute the universe crystals we find? Do we distribute them uniformly, or do they belong to whoever finds them? Of course they belong to whoever finds them. This involves everyone's ranking. There's no need to hand them up. Hongbo answered generously. Hearing Hongbo's words, everyone was motivated and began to search everywhere. If they were talking about finding things, Lin Jun had a huge advantage. His sky-green spiritual power spread out, and everything within a radius of 100 meters could be seen. After walking for a while, Lin Jun's eyes lit up. There's one here. He took 2 big strides forward, and with a kick of his foot, a handful of soil flew up into the sky. In the middle of the soil, a small round bead flickering with starlight was picked out. Reaching out his hand, a universe crystal appeared in his hand. This was the first time Lin Jun had obtained a universe crystal in his previous life. Such a small bead was already a fortune that he couldn't hope to obtain in his previous life. This bead was worth 100,000 shilling coins, which was equivalent to 100 million shilling coins. Seeing Lin Jun open his business, the other martial artists revealed looks of envy. Even Hongbo was moved. One bead was worth 100 million. Who wouldn't want it? These people put in more effort to search, but they didn't expect that the second person to find a universe crystal would still be Lin Jun. This time, Lin Jun found a universe crystal under a black rock. It wasn't 1, but 3. He walked over and moved the rock away, grabbing 3 universe crystals. Another 300 million was in his hand, which made the other martial artists' eyes turn red. Lin Jun, do you have some technique? How did you find them consecutively? Lin Jun didn't reply to the person who asked. He already felt that this trip was worth it. If he could find a few million universe crystals, his financial crisis would be alleviated immediately. It was normal for an unexplored world stone to find a few billion universe crystals. All the martial artists distanced themselves. At this time, the Spirit Reader Masters had a huge advantage. They released their spirit power and searched like a net. However, their spirit power was much weaker than Lin Jun's. The strongest person was Hong Bo, who had the spirit power of an early-stage Sky Cyan. The rest were basically Diamond Stage. Lin Jun released his spirit power, which had a much larger range than the others. It was like a high-power radar with a large range. This allowed his searching speed to be much faster than the others. When he was about to reach the River of Three Roads, Lin Jun had already obtained more than 100 universe crystals. The remaining 30-plus people added together had about the same amount as Lin Jun. These martial artists were already jealous, but they couldn't say anything because of Hong Bo's words. They all looked at Lin Jun anxiously as he kept the universe crystals one by one. "Look, there's a light here. Stop them." There was a group of people rushing over from the front. They couldn't fly in the World Stone, so these martial artists were all running at high speed while sticking close to the ground. More than 100 people fanned out to encircle them. "The Greenbee Gang is here. Hand over the universe crystals and we'll spare your lives. Put down everything in your hands and squat down with your hands on your head. Otherwise, we'll kill you." The group of people yelled. They were basically the experts of Eternal Week. Hong Bo's expression changed. He didn't expect that lighting up the radiant power would attract trouble. The other party had 3 times their number. This time, they were in trouble. The people of the Galactic Beast Alliance looked at the bandits nervously. They subconsciously protected the universe crystals they had just collected. Everyone looked at Hong Bo. Hong Bo braced himself and stepped forward. "Friends of the Greenbee Gang, we're from the Galactic Beast Alliance. Please give us some face." The leader of the Greenbee Gang looked at Hong Bo. "Cut the crap. This is another world. It's useless to talk about your background. The World Stone is a place for training. If you don't have the strength, just admit defeat. The Sanjiang Federation doesn't care who you are." The people behind followed the leader's words and unsheathed their weapons, ready to attack at any time. Hong Bo was furious, but he didn't dare to fight. He could only grit his teeth and say, "How many do you want? We just came in, and we didn't get anything. I know it's not much, but at least 100. If not, we'll attack." Hong Bo turned his head and looked around. Finally, his gaze fell on Lin Jun. "Lin Jun, hand over your cosmos crystals. All of us added together don't even have as much as you do. Only by doing so will we be able to tide over this crisis." Lin Jun was stunned. "Why me? Even if you want to take, you should split it equally." "Lin Jun, do you have any compassion? That's right. You enjoy the protection of the team, but you don't want to contribute to the team at the critical moment. You're too much. If you don't want to take it, then leave. We won't protect you anymore. Your realm is not high, but you're arrogant." Looking at the indignant crowd, Lin Jun sneered. The quality of the new students of the Giant Beast Alliance wasn't high. Han Sha and the others valued bloodlines, but they neglected the basic courage and responsibility of a warrior. He originally wanted to show some camaraderie, but now it seemed that there was no need to worry. Lin Jun slowly raised his hand. "Since it's like this, I'll leave the team. But before that, I'll leave a gift for everyone." The surrounding people sighed in relief. They thought that Lin Jun had agreed to hand over the universe crystals. Unexpectedly, the yin-yang spear appeared in Lin Jun's hand. He teleported into the group of bandits and stabbed out. Spear's shadows covered the sky. "If you want to rob us, then you should be prepared to die. Everyone, stop acting. Attack." Blood splattered and screams sounded. Lin Jun took down several people with a single spear. The members of the Green Hornet Gang cried out, "Damn it! These Galactic Beast Alliance people are playing us. Kill them." Chapter 458. The new students, led by Hong Bo, had planned to trick Lin Jun once, but they did not expect to be tricked by Lin Jun immediately. He took the lead, and the two sides immediately engaged in a chaotic battle. Lin Jun's eyes were cold. The yin-yang spear in his hand flew up and down. Every time the spear struck, someone would fall. On the other side, the people of the Galactic Beast Alliance activated their talents. Talents were the safest way to fight the enemy. Although the Green Hornet Gang had more people, their quality was not as good as Lin Jun's people. Hongbo's talent was the violent ape of stars. His whole body swelled up, and the weapon in his hand was a long staff. He waved it like a windmill, and his strength was very strong. However, he was surrounded by several experts, and he could not escape in a short time. People from both sides screamed and fell. Lin Jun's psychic power moved, and the seven-star saber rose into the air. In a group battle, the seven-star saber was a more ferocious killing weapon than the yin-yang spear. 7 electric lights crisscrossed, drawing deadly arcs in the air. More than 10 people fell to the ground instantly. Damn, this kid is fierce. Be careful. This is a spirit reader of the azure level. His flying daggers are divine weapons. Ugh. Lin Jun stood in the same place. The flying daggers flew around, and each of them was fatal. The bandits fell to the ground like grass, and the number of people quickly decreased. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 people were left. These people knew how powerful Lin Jun was and did not dare to stay any longer. They all fled for their lives. After the 7 flying daggers were retrieved, Lin Jun's psychic power spread out like a spider web. Under the dual effect of gravity and psychic power, everyone's space rings were collected by Lin Jun. Without looking at them, Lin Jun kept them in the dark star space. He turned and left. Except for Tai Shan and Chao Yang, who waved at Lin Jun, the others stood there in a daze. They could not accept this scene. They thought that Lin Jun was just a rookie. They did not expect him to be such a killing god. At this moment, they regretted their choice. On the 100 River Star, there was an unknown ancient forest deep in the mountains. On top of a precipice, there was a tall pagoda that reached into the clouds. This was not a pagoda, but the headquarters of Tong Tian Tower, one of the 4 major gangs of the Sanjiang Federation. The outer members didn't even know where the headquarters was. Only some of the core members had the qualifications to enter Tong Tian Tower. At the top of the 300th floor of the skyscraper, 3 people were having a discussion. This time, our 3 families are working together. We must completely annihilate the Green Luan Association. The people you 2 have prepared should be in place. That's right. For this cooperation, our geocentric Jade Tower has sent out 10,000 eternal cycle experts and 10 black hole stage experts. Moreover, they're scattered among the other guilds. Many people don't even know their identities. When the time comes, we will definitely catch those girls off guard. Our dragon totem has sent out the dragon race warriors. You should know that it is very difficult for us to select talents. The dragon totem tattoo is not something that anyone can use. These 8,000 people are already our most elite force under 100 years old. 3,000 people will form our main force. The remaining 5,000 people will be scattered as rogues. When it is time to gather, we will immediately gather. The representative sitting in the middle, who was wearing the Tong Tian Tower's logo, nodded in satisfaction when he heard the geocentric Jade Towers and Dragon Totem statements. That's good. Our Tong Tian Tower's 13,000 people are also prepared. The method is similar to yours. They will all enter the World Stone and give the Green Luan Association a fatal blow at the crucial moment. The Dragon Totem's representative had densely packed divine dragon tattoos on his body. Those tattoos seemed to have some kind of power. At this moment, he nodded and said, "That's right. Those bitches were originally insignificant. However, 20 years ago, that girl Feng Qingluan rose to power and forcibly took down a piece of the sky in the Sanjiang Federation. Our dragon totem is her sworn enemy. She has done many things to us. Our geocentric Jade Tower is the same. Our mining business was originally our main business. However, she forcefully interfered with it. After a few battles, we did not gain any advantage at all. We even lost a large amount of mining rights on the resource star. If this continues, our brothers will have no food to eat. Our Tong Tian Tower is the same. Feng Qingluan, that viper-like woman, has messed up our slave trade. Back then, during the Battle of Tianhua Planet, 400,000 of our brothers were killed by her. Everyone says that our gangs kill like flies. However, she has personally killed more than 100,000 people. I can't wait to eat her alive. Don't be impatient. Isn't this an opportunity? Feng Xingwan has already gone to the Fire Qilin Empire for a few years. The Green Yuan Association that she single-handedly created is no longer that powerful. What Green Yuan for beauties? They're all pretty but useless embroidered pillows. We will take advantage of this opportunity to cut off her roots. That's right. This time, the Green Yuan Association sent out 5,000 people. They're all female troops. These people are the elites of the Green Yuan Association. Once we get rid of them, the Green Yuan Association can basically say goodbye. The Tongtian Tower's representative looked at the other two people. Have you guys given the instructions? Where are we going to take action? We have given the instructions. The location of the ambush was set by us in advance. We can guarantee that nothing will go wrong. Then let's hope that we succeed. After this matter is done, the 4 major gangs of 100 River Planet will become 3 major gangs. At that time, all of the Green Yuan Association's business will be divided equally between the 3 of us. Of course. However, don't forget about the treasures of Yin Jun World King. It is said that when World King, Yin Jun World King, was alive, he was also a powerhouse among the World Kings. After he died, the Book of Inherited Memories was not spread out. It should be inside the World Stone. I've also heard that before many powerhouses die, they will record everything they have learned in their life into a golden book. That is a book of inherited memories. If anyone can obtain the memories of a world king, then that means they have learned all of their cultivation methods. That is the most precious treasure. We must obtain it no matter what. We definitely will. This time, the 3 of us have sent in true experts. Our Tongtian Towers, Xianzhu, your Dragon Totems Apollo, and Geocentric Jade Towers Tianxi. They are all rare geniuses of the Sanjiang Federation. They definitely won't return empty-handed. Victory! Victory! The 3 representatives clasped their hands together, full of confidence. 2 flying daggers flashed through the darkness, and the heads of 2 green ghost demons that were close to them were silently cut off. Lin Jun's figure flashed through the mist. The fog in front of him gradually faded, and the sound of water splashing could be heard. We're finally almost there, the River of 3 Roads. Lin Jun walked out of the fog area, and the terrain in front of him suddenly opened up. The River of 3 Roads was a blood-red river that was dozens of miles wide. The entire river was filled with rolling red waves, and one couldn't see the end of it. It was said that this river was completely formed by blood. This blood was formed by the blood of the people that World King, Yin Jun World King, had killed when he was alive. It was unknown how many people he had killed, but it actually formed a boundless river. It really made one's hair stand on end just thinking about it. Perhaps people didn't believe this legend before, but when they came to the riverbank, they saw that in this rolling, blood-red river, there were wailing ghosts everywhere. They struggled in the river, trying to devour the humans on the riverbank, but they were unable to break free from the shackles of the River of 3 Roads. Those ghosts that were terrifying to the point of being twisted had been here for thousands of years and had already become ghosts. The strong, fiendish aura made them incomparably terrifying and powerful. They were at least at the satellite realm. Waves of nauseating aura washed over them, and those who were timid would be frightened and retreat. Lin Jun put on his metal mask and quickly approached the riverbank. There was a long bridge here. The Bridge of Helplessness, the entrance to the Yellow Springs netherworld. There were already many people on the bridge moving forward quickly. Lin Jun immediately joined the flow of people moving forward and quickly rushed to the other side. When he was halfway there, the ghosts in the river below started to howl crazily, rolling up huge blood-red waves, as if they could pounce on a person at any time. A slight stabbing pain hit Lin Jun's mind. This is a mental attack. Lin Jun could feel waves of energy attacking him, and some vague illusions rose in his mind. Those illusions contained hatred, killing intent, and other negative emotions. If he was affected, he might go berserk. Using his sky-blue mental power, Lin Jun easily used his powerful mental power to get rid of these illusions. So the River of 3 Roads is a mental power test, but this test is too easy for me. There is no difficulty at all. Many people in the surroundings stopped and stood in place blankly, as if they were already affected. Some stood for a while, and then started to dance and shout crazily. Some even plunged into the river and were directly killed by the ghosts. With wind under his feet, Lin Jun flew all the way and quickly shook off the majority of the people and arrived in front of the crossing team. When he was about to get off the bridge, Lin Jun saw two groups of people fighting. One group of people was wearing the clothes of the geocentric Jade Tower of the Three Rivers Four Great Gangs, and the other group was a group of women from another gang, the Green Phoenix Association. Those women did not lose to men in the slightest. Among the martial artists, there were more men than women, but all the women who could advance to a higher realm were all geniuses. There were more than a dozen people on both sides, and the fight was quite fierce. From time to time, people would be broken off the bridge and fall into the river of Three Roads. Lin Jun did not have any interest in watching these gangs fight and did not want to care, and directly rushed over. But when he was about to get off the bridge, he saw three people from Tong Tian Tower attacking a beautiful woman in green clothes. Lin Jun did not care whether the woman was beautiful or not, but he saw that one of the devil clansmen was actually with Jean Howren when he was in the fairy forest. Since he met the enemy, Lin Jun did not hold back and directly threw out three throwing knives, killing the three people from Tong Tian Tower. The woman in green was originally in a dangerous situation, but after being saved by Lin Jun, she let out a long breath and stared at Lin Jun's back for a while. Qing quickly crossed the river. Chapter 459. Lin Jun quickly got off the bridge. There weren't many people in front of him anymore. The trial platform should be in front of me. On the wasteland in front of him, a tall platform rose from the ground. This platform looked like a huge pyramid. One could climb up from all sides. There were layers of stairs stacked on top of each other. Each step was 100 meters high. What a tall trial platform. There are about 100 steps. I'm afraid it's over 10,000 meters high. Lin Jun arrived in front of the trial platform and looked up. There were many people gathered here. Some people tried to go around the trial platform and enter the wasteland in front of them to look for universe crystals. However, they found that they couldn't go around it. No matter how they walked, they would still walk back to the trial platform. What's this trial platform for? Just as Lin Jun was puzzled, Chris suddenly appeared. Master, there's a communication request from the dimensional universe. Do you want to connect? Lin Jun was stunned. A request from the dimensional universe? This is World Stone, another world. How can it connect to the dimensional universe? This communication signal doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from the space of this world itself. The sender is Yin Jun Realm King. What? It's him? Isn't he dead? This is a signal field. Everyone who comes here will automatically receive this request. It was left behind a long time ago. Then connect. Let's see what message this Yin Jun Realm King left for us outsiders. Soon, the request was connected. The dimensional universe automatically sent a text message. Little friends from the outside, I'm the King of Yama, and also the master of this world. The fact that you are able to come to the netherworld proves that you are all sinners. Now, go up to the judgment platform and accept my judgment. It's time to wash away your sins. The higher you climb, the more your sins will be reduced. There were no more words. Lin Jun rubbed his hands. What does this Yin Jun Realm King think he is? A god of justice? Master, the only way now is to go through the trial platform. If you don't want to go up, you can go around the first step. Look, someone has already done that. Lin Jun looked up. Sure enough, someone had reached the first step. They seemed to be under some kind of pressure and were taking a detour. Because the staircase was surrounded on all sides, one could enter the wasteland through the judgment platform after going to the back. With someone leading the way, more and more people started to do the same. In their eyes, the only important thing was to quickly enter the wasteland and obtain the cosmos crystals. Everything else was meaningless. However, Lin Jun didn't think so. This world stone would last for 3 months. He wasn't in a hurry to find the universe crystal. Moreover, he wasn't lacking in money for the time being. What he really wanted was the treasures left behind by World King Yin Jun. If there were any treasures on this judgment platform, Lin Jun believed that it would be at the peak. Therefore, he wanted to try climbing it. There were also many people who had the same thought as Lin Jun. They didn't immediately go around the judgment platform. Instead, they climbed one level at a time. However, it seemed to be very strenuous. Many people stopped after climbing a few levels. No one knew what they were doing. Let's go up and take a look. Lin Jun came to the front of the staircase and jumped up. He jumped more than 10 meters high. Then, as if he was climbing a rock, he used his hands and feet to climb along the potholes. Soon, he reached the first step. After going up, Lin Jun almost lost his balance and fell down. This was because he felt a huge pressure falling from the sky. The sudden difference in gravity made him a little uncomfortable. After stabilizing his body, Lin Jun woke up. So this is a gravity field. The higher I go, the stronger the gravity. However, the gravity of the first step wasn't difficult for Lin Jun. He wasn't very clear about how strong his body was. After calming down a little, Lin Jun quickly climbed up to the second step. The steps that were 100 meters high were densely packed with people climbing up. Everyone had obtained news that there should be a World King treasure at every location, and this judgment platform was no exception. In the first 10 steps, almost no one found it difficult to climb. When they reached the 20th step, most people were still able to persist. From the 30th step onwards, some people gradually began to fall behind. The tremendous gravity pressed down on everyone, causing their bones to creak. At this moment, the strength of one's body was revealed. If one's strength wasn't enough, then they weren't enough. Some people sat down on the steps, sweating profusely. They meditated on the steps, adjusting their breathing as they waited for the next climb. As for some people, they persisted in climbing up. But when they reached the middle of the steps, they were no longer able to withstand the gravity that fell from the sky and were smashed down. Here, one couldn't fly. The gravity that was dozens of times stronger than normal was enough to easily smash a martial artist to pieces. When death appeared, many martial artists realized that this hurdle wasn't something that could be passed just because you had courage and perseverance. Once you failed, you would be smashed to pieces. At the 40th step, the number of people climbing had already fallen by half. At the 50th step, the number of people was once again halved. Some people died, and some people felt that they couldn't persist any longer. They immediately began to detour along the steps, going to the wasteland ahead to search for universe crystals. When they reached the 60th step, Lin Jun also felt a considerable amount of pressure. There were only a few hundred people still climbing. Soon, I've already climbed for almost a day. I've climbed more than half the distance. There are only 40 more steps before I reach the top. Lin Jun said. Chris immediately reminded him, Master, according to the information given by Yin Jun World King, climbing up to the 90th step of this judgment platform is considered half done. The last few steps are the most difficult to climb. Lin Jun nodded. I understand this principle, but since I've already reached here, I have to strive to climb to the top and see what's on this high platform. Lin Jun sat down cross-legged and adjusted his breathing for a while. He felt that his condition had more or less recovered, so he immediately stood up and climbed again. 63, 65, 68, 70. Lin Jun climbed this insignificant distance of 10 steps for an entire day. When he reached the 70th step, there were less than 100 people around him. What a strong gravitational pressure. To be able to persist to this point, they must be true geniuses. The real challenge has yet to begin. Constantly withstanding such a strong gravitational force was also a challenge to a martial artist's body. This was because one had to constantly use their strength to resist the gravitational force. Otherwise, they could be crushed into a meat patty at any time. If one wasn't careful and fell down, the enormous gravitational force was enough to turn one into a mural. At this time, it was a competition of strength and endurance. On the 5th day, Lin Jun finally climbed to the 80th step. There were only 50 people who were still climbing around him. Phew, this is already close to the limit of a human. The gravity here is 1,000 times stronger than the gravity of a normal planet. I think that if one were to weigh a strand of hair, it would be in kilograms. Lin Jun looked left and right. After a few days of climbing, he had a certain understanding of his competitors. The strongest among them should be a person called Apollo from the dragon totem. Apollo was a golden-haired, blue-eyed man with a golden dragon tattoo on his body. His physique was extremely sturdy. Climbing the 80th floor, no matter how hard others tried, would have shown great fatigue. However, Apollo did not. He remained calm and composed, as if he still had great potential. A strong gangster. He should be my main opponent. But since we're here, I've decided to leave you behind. I must be the first to reach the judgment platform. When Lin Jun stood up, Apollo, who was not far away, also stood up. Half-armor transformation. Lin Jun's mind moved. Black scales appeared on his body, and his coat was immediately stretched open. After the half-armor transformation, his muscles bulged and his strength doubled. His legs, which were originally filled with lead, were immediately filled with strength. Again, this time, I must reach the 90th step in one go. Lin Jun began a new round of climbing. These people had been fiercely competing with each other for the past few days. Seeing that Lin Jun had started, the others were unwilling to fall behind. They all tried to catch up. At this time, the golden dragon tattoo on Apollo's body began to glow. Inscription power. As the golden dragon tattoo glowed, a powerful bloodline power began to rise. Apollo's speed also increased. Other than the two of them, there were also a few people from aristocratic families and some people from multinational corporations. They all used their trump cards and began to speed up. However, there were more people who couldn't keep up. There were people who fell behind on every step. However, at this point, those who felt that they couldn't hold on chose to quit. An hour later, a total of 20 people had reached the 90th level of the high platform. So heavy, even the half-armor transformation can't hold on. Lin Jun's body began to sweat. At this time, he truly realized the difficulty of this judgment platform. If he didn't have the support of the half-armor transformation, he would have collapsed by now. Now is the time when people reach their limits. I have to challenge myself and climb the 91st step. I have to get rid of most of the competitors here. The gravity here was too strong to fight. Therefore, Lin Jun could only choose this method. Resisting the fatigue, Lin Jun continued to climb. Those who were already exhausted to the limit and wanted to take a rest saw that Lin Jun was still climbing so valiantly. Other than a few people who could barely keep up, the others lost some of their confidence. Forget it. This judgment platform is too difficult. Instead of wasting time here, it's better to go to the wasteland and look for universe crystals. Among the 20 people, 10 chose to give up. The remaining 9 people, including Apollo, didn't want to lose to Lin Jun. Once again, they followed Lin Jun and climbed the 91st step. Chapter 460. When he reached the 91st floor, Lin Jun wanted to try his best to climb the 92nd floor, but he did not expect the gravity to double. Previously, the gravity on each floor increased by a little. When he reached the 90th floor, it was only 100 times the gravity, but when he reached the 91st floor, it was 200 times the gravity. The huge pressure from the sky made Lin Jun fall to the ground on all fours. He looked like a crushed toad. God, this gravity is crazy. Lin Jun's arms trembled. He supported his body and crawled forward. When he reached the corner of the stairs, he leaned his back against the stairs and gasped for breath. He could barely move. When the others came up, they were even worse than him. They were all in a state of disgrace. The most serious one even vomited blood and died on the spot. Dragon Totem Apollo was not much better. Like Lin Jun, he crawled forward on all fours and moved step by step to the corner. Out of the 17 people, 5 chose to give up on the spot. After resting for a while, they crawled away and headed for the wasteland. The 12 people did not communicate with each other. Now that they were all competitors, communication was fake. Everyone was trying their best to adjust to the stronger gravity. However, the double gravity wasn't something that could be adapted to so quickly. Time began to pass by minute. For an entire day, no one tried to reach the 92nd floor. At this time, most of the martial artists had passed the river of 3 roads. Some tried to challenge the judgment platform, but no one could climb here. After 30 hours, Apollo was the first to attempt the 92nd floor. After he started, the rest of the people also stood up and continued to climb. No one tried to fight here. Firstly, the gravity was too strong. It was almost impossible to fight. Secondly, it was easy for others to take advantage of them. The competition was about endurance and perseverance. Of course, the most important thing was strength. During the climbing process, 2 people gave it a try and quit. Only 10 people succeeded in reaching the 92nd floor. When climbing up, some of the warriors still held on to hope that the gravity here would only increase by 100 times. This way, they would still have a chance to continue climbing. But when the gravity of 400 times came crashing down, several warriors fell into despair. F***CK. Was there anyone who could go up to this kind of judgment platform? This floor has 400, and the next floor has 800. After that, it will be 1,600, 3,200, and 6,400. The 97th floor has more than 10,000. I don't believe that anyone can withstand tens of thousands of times the gravity and climb up. This is simply not something a human can climb. I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing anymore. Even if I can't afford to play, I can still hide. I'm going to the wasteland now. Whoever wants to play can play. Let's go find some cosmos crystals. What world king treasure? It's purely a joke. Out of the 10 participants, 6 of them were level 9 stellar level martialists. They immediately left for the wasteland. There were only 4 people left in the arena. Other than Lin Jun, the other 3 were all in the black hole stage. Apollo was at the late black hole stage, while the other 2 were at the early black hole stage and the middle black hole stage. Moreover, these 3 people were all sky blue level spirit readers. If they weren't spirit readers, it would be very difficult for them to bear the pressure of the huge gravity here. The other few people looked at each other before their gazes fell on Lin Jun. They were a little surprised and a little disdainful. They felt that it was really humiliating to be on the same stage with a guy who was only at the comet stage. Of course, they were also a little afraid of Lin Jun. This person probably had some unknown trump cards. Otherwise, it would be a pipe dream for him to climb up to this level at the comet stage. The atmosphere was oppressive and dignified. The 4 of them kept a relatively safe distance from each other. Nobody spoke to each other as they adapted to the gravity on the 92nd floor. 3 days later, the 4 of them had climbed to the 93rd floor. 7 days later, they reached the 94th floor one after another. When they reached the 94th floor, the early black hole stage martialist couldn't bear it anymore. The 1,600-fold gravity had crushed him, so he left the judgment platform unwillingly. At this point, it was almost impossible to withstand it with willpower. It had to be done with absolute strength. Apollo took the initiative to speak to Lin Jun and the other middle black hole stage martialist. You 2 are very good. You were able to climb all the way up here. However, there is only one world king treasure in each place. I am very sorry to tell you that you will absolutely not obtain it. He stood up straight and tore off the tattered clothes on his body, revealing the golden dragon tattoo underneath. There wasn't just one dragon tattooed on his body, but 2 dragons. Along the way, he had lit up one dragon tattoo, but he hadn't lit up the second dragon yet. He was actually still conserving his strength. The 2 golden dragons shone at the same time. The star power around his body surged. Apollo resolutely began to climb to the 95th floor. The middle black hole stage martialist saw Apollo's actions and clenched his teeth. His body erupted with energy as he forcefully resisted the 1,600-fold gravity and climbed to the 95th floor. Lin Jun didn't immediately follow the 2. He was currently in a half-armor state. He wanted to see if he could climb to the 95th floor in this state. He continued to adapt to this place for 3 days. Lin Jun could basically move freely under 1,600-fold gravity. Then he activated his half-armor state and climbed to the 95th floor. After climbing to the 95th floor as expected, the 3,200-fold gravity pressed down. Moreover, Apollo and the middle black hole stage martialists were no longer here. This is almost the limit. Half-armor state can only last until here. Next, I'll have to activate my full armor state to continue climbing. After 2 days of rest, Lin Jun finally activated his full armor state. The potential of the black hole beast's body was stimulated. Lin Jun continuously climbed the 96th and 97th floors in a spurt of energy. Under 12,800-fold gravity, Lin Jun still managed to climb to the 98th floor. It was also here that he met Apollo again. The 25,600-fold gravity had caused Apollo to collapse to the ground. Even his double golden dragon tattoo could only ensure that he wouldn't be crushed to death immediately. The middle black hole stage martialist was also gone. He should have been eliminated halfway. You actually... Apollo watched in disbelief as Lin Jun caught up to him. He couldn't believe his eyes at all. Lin Jun didn't answer him. He crawled to the wall. Under such gravity, he didn't even dare to deactivate his armor state. Otherwise, he might die immediately. Blood was seeping out from the gaps between the black scales. Even with the armor state, he couldn't hold on for too long. Lin Jun took out the starry sky crown from his space ring and used the last of his strength to put it on his head. The powerful holy light power kept healing Lin Jun's body. Then, he deactivated his armor state. With the starry sky crown, Lin Jun could guarantee that he wouldn't die. As long as he didn't die, he could slowly adapt to the 20,000-fold gravity. Apollo finally couldn't hold on any longer. He only had a little bit of strength left. Like a worm, he moved away bit by bit. If he didn't leave now, he would die here. When he left, he glared at Lin Jun fiercely. Kid, don't be so smug. This treasure of the Realm King isn't something that can be obtained by humans. On the next 99th level, the gravity will increase to 50,000-fold. When that time comes, you'll definitely die. Lin Jun ignored him. Instead, he stayed on the 98th level alone and began to adapt to the gravity here. As long as one could withstand the powerful gravity, it was the best training ground, especially for one's mind power. After all, the starry sky crown could guarantee that he wouldn't die. His body was constantly in a state of recovering from serious injuries. Although it was painful, Lin Jun could still endure it. He was already used to all kinds of pain. With the support of an extremely powerful soul, he was confident that he could survive any kind of pain. His mind power also began to grow rapidly under the pressure of the huge gravity. Another 10 days passed. It had been a month since the martial artists entered the Yellow Springs, Netherland. As people slowly became more familiar with this place, they gradually understood the situation of the Yellow Springs, Netherland. After crossing the River of Three Roads, it was the true Yellow Springs. Here, ghosts ran amok and there were battles at all times. Universe crystals were mainly distributed in the wasteland and the 6 paths of reincarnation, especially the 6 paths of reincarnation. That was the true place where universe crystals were abundant. For example, when some big powers entered this place, their main mission was to collect universe crystals everywhere. Powers like Tong Tian Tower already had more than 10 million universe crystals in their hands. The stronger ones were now exploring the 6 paths of reincarnation. The weaker ones were still wandering in the wasteland. Other than the wasteland and the 6 paths of reincarnation, the core of the Yellow Springs Netherland was the underground shrine. There were countless high-level ghosts guarding the shrine. That place had the largest amount of universe crystals. People also suspected that Yin Jun's golden book of inheritance might be in the underground shrine. However, those who dared to challenge the underground shrine had yet to succeed or even survive. Everyone was waiting. When they had collected enough universe crystals, they would gather their strength and try again. At the back of the underground shrine, there was a path of no return. That was the path to leave the World Stone. After a month of battles, only 70,000 of the 200,000 people who entered the World Stone remained. Most of them had already been eliminated. However, until now, no one had been able to obtain Yin Jun's treasures. No one knew where these treasures were. On the judgment platform, Lin Jun slowly opened his eyes. Armor transformation. The black scales appeared once again, but this time, the scales no longer bled. I've adapted. After my body transformed into armor, It can now withstand 25,600 times the gravity. However, I'm not in a hurry to climb up. The next level is 51,200 times the gravity. My current strength is not enough. I still need to prepare. Chapter 461. Lin Jin's step was very significant. The star core, meteor, and comet realms were known as the star realm's third stage. At this stage, the Dantian wasn't stable. Even a level 9 comet realm expert was still a comet realm expert. He would eventually fall in the night sky. Once he crossed this step, he would enter the Weizhou realm. The satellite, planet, and star realms were known as the Eternal Realm's third stage. Only at this stage would the Dantian's qi be truly stable. The comet realm expert with a huge tail would disappear and become a real small planet. Just like the moon, which was Earth's satellite. Although it was small, it seemed to have been there since ancient times. Crossing a realm would greatly increase one's strength. Otherwise, Lin Jun wouldn't be able to withstand the gravity of the 99th Judgment platform, even if he was in his full armor transformation. After piling up all the fire copper essence, Lin Jun began to absorb it. This process lasted for 3 hours. In the end, the pile of fire copper essence turned into ordinary bronze. Lin Jun had finally broken through. A planet floated in his Dantian, emitting a faint star force. Under the stimulation of this star force, Lin Jun's Dantian began to expand once again. The total amount of star force doubled. The satellite realm. I've finally reached the Eternal Realm's third stage. All techniques are not enough without absolute strength as a backing. After reaching Weizhou's level, my absolute strength is completely different from before. Previously, Lin Jun's shortcoming had always been his realm. During battles, he mainly relied on the Dark Star Star Force. However, after obtaining the Black Hole Beast gene, his realm had advanced by leaps and bounds. He had now surpassed the Dark Star's primordial universe. The primordial universe's star force was equivalent to the Comet realm's Dantian. Now, Lin Jin's star force had reached the Weizhou realm. With the addition of the Dark Star Star Force, the combination of the Star Force and the Dark Star Star Force was stronger than an ordinary Star Realm expert. Feeling better than ever, Lin Jun immediately entered his full armor transformation. He stood up abruptly and climbed to the 99th Judgment platform. Star Force erupted from his body. The intense starlight turned him into a body of light. He resisted more than 20,000 times the gravity and quickly climbed up the platform. With one hand, Lin Jun finally grabbed onto the 99th step and leaped up. Creak, creak. The gravity suddenly doubled. At this time, Lin Jun shouted, and the avatar that had been staying in the dark star space all this time appeared. Lin Jun had reached Comet Level 9, and his doppelganger had reached Star Level 9. Now, Lin Jun had advanced to Weizhou, and his doppelganger had strength comparable to the black hole stage. Although the doppelganger was not a complete life form, and there was no such thing as a black hole, his current strength was at the early stages of a black hole. Lin Jun's doppelganger appeared, and a huge burst of stellar energy burst forth. It supported Lin Jun's main body from behind and charged toward the 100th floor. Lin Jun no longer had the time to continue adapting to the 50,000-fold gravity here. He probably wouldn't be able to complete it in a year. He had to rush to the 100th floor as soon as possible. The scales that remained unscathed under 25,000-fold gravity began to bleed again. Lin Jun suppressed the anger in his chest and continued to move forward with the help of his doppelganger. This process was actually very short, but Lin Jun felt that it lasted for a year because it was too painful. The starry sky crown on his head desperately emitted the power of holy light and continuously healed Lin Jun's damaged body. With the combination of his main body, doppelganger, armor, and the starry sky crown, Lin Jun finally broke through the obstacles and went straight to the 100th floor. Lin Jun was even prepared to be crushed when he reached the 100th floor. As long as he didn't die, he could hold on. However, when he reached the 100,000-fold gravity that he imagined did not descend. Not only did it not descend, but all the gravity disappeared at this moment. Because he had used too much strength, Lin Jun's body shot up into the sky, causing astral winds to attack him. He struggled in the air with all his might and only managed to escape with the help of a starry sky crown. He successfully landed on the 100th level. This is when Lin Jun landed. He was stunned by the scene on the high platform. In the center of the high platform, a golden book was quietly floating there. Is this the golden book of inheritance? Lin Jun felt his heart wildly beating at this moment. There were many legends about the treasures of Yin Jun World King, but the one about the golden book of inheritance was the most reliable. It recorded World King Yin Jun World King's most proficient skills. In a high-level universe country, besides the emperor, there might not even be a single world king. One could imagine how rare world king powerhouses were. Even other world kings would treat this kind of inheritance as a treasure. He didn't expect that the golden book would appear in front of him at this moment. My luck is so good. Although climbing this judgment platform is strenuous compared to the harvest, it is completely insignificant. Lin Jun excitedly walked over and reached out his hand, gently holding up the golden book. It really is. On the cover of the golden book, the image of Yin Jun World King was incomparably clear, as if it could come to life at any time. I don't know what World King Yin Jun World King's skill is, but I don't have to worry about my current cultivation. As long as I have enough money, with the absorption characteristics of the black hole beast, I can continue to level up. What I lack is a good skill. Although I have mastered the Phantom God Strike with my own comprehension, it is still far from enough. Lin Jun held his breath and opened the golden book of inheritance. On the title page, World King Yin Jun World King's self-introduction entered Lin Jun's eyes. I am Yin Jun World King, born in Black Tortoise Holy Country, Tianan Galaxy, hailing planet Black Tortoise Calendar 8890325. Lin Jun didn't know where this Black Tortoise Holy Country was, but he thought that it should be another high-level universe country. I advanced to star at 48, black hole at 65, and nebula at 72. When I became a world king, I was only 2,400 years old. Seeing this, Lin Jun secretly admired him. Advancing to nebula at 72 years old was simply too terrifying. No wonder he could become a world king. After that, there were some glorious deeds of his, but Lin Jun didn't know where he came from. Listening to those things was like listening to a story. At the bottom of the title page, there was finally something that Lin Jun was interested in. In my life, I have learned many things, but there are only two skills that I can really use. One is Spirit Evil Spirit Attack, and the other is Flash Strike. Spirit Evil Spirit Attack is the foundation of my research on Spirit Attack, and Flash Strike is an attack that is launched at the speed of light, making it impossible for the opponent to dodge. With my Golden Book of Inheritance, you can learn these two skills. The text stopped here. Then, Lin Jun looked at the next page and found that it was the back cover. There was also writing on the back cover. The first 3 pages are Spirit Evil Spirit Attack, and the last 3 pages are Flash Strike. Learning my skills is enough to show that we are fated. I am relieved. Lin Jun was stunned for a moment. He flipped to the back cover, but there was nothing. This isn't right. According to World King Yin Jun, there should be 6 pages introducing skills. How come there are no more? Lin Jun searched for a long time on the high platform. He flipped through the golden book again and again. There was no interlayer at all, and there was nothing that could be hidden by using his spirit power. The only discovery was that he did see 6 marks between the front cover and the back cover. This proved that there were indeed 6 pages of golden paper in this golden book. It turns out that what I got was just the front cover. There is nothing in the middle. Lin Jun was quite depressed. He was very interested in the 2 skills of World King Yin Jun, but without the cultivation method, it was impossible for him to figure it out by himself. This golden book can be in the netherworld. Presumably, the 6 pages of paper are also here. When Lin Jun had this thought, he immediately felt that the possibility was very high. Before the Yama King died, it was very likely that he had hidden the 6 pieces of paper in the netherworld. However, he would need to find them one by one. It seems that I have to act quickly. If I can find a golden book here, Maybe others can find the paper in other places. I must get these 2 skills. Lin Jun put the golden book into the dark star space. Now, the dark star space was about to reach the final stage of the primordial universe. When it was promoted to the Phanerozoic universe, his strength would certainly take a big step forward. Lin Jun began to walk down the judgment platform. When he came down, he found that the gravity here had completely disappeared. Could it be that this golden book is the foundation of the judgment platform? If I take it away, the gravity field will also disappear. Step by step, Lin Jun walked down the judgment platform. His feet landed on the wasteland. Blood wasteland. Go to the 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Jun operated his vision and looked into the distance. There were all kinds of ghosts in the wasteland. Those with disheveled hair and bleeding from the 7 orifices were nothing. After many different races died, they formed ghosts of all kinds of strange shapes. Beasts, beastmen, demons, titans, aliens. The ghosts wandered in the wasteland. However, they were a bit far from the judgment platform. For the time being, they did not attack Lin Jun. If there are 6 pages, then the 6 paths of reincarnation is the most likely. I should go there and take a look. Moreover, it is said that that is the place with the most universe crystals. To the 6 paths of reincarnation. Increasing his speed, Lin Jun rushed forward. The Thunderlight wings appeared on his back. Currently, the Thunderlight wings could reach 500 times the speed of sound. Lin Jun only activated 100 times the speed of sound. He turned into a stream of light and advanced at high speed. As long as there were ghosts blocking his way, Lin Jun would use the 7-star blade's sacred light blade to slash at them and immediately kill them. This kind of flying blade that contained the power of radiance had a special effect in killing ghosts. The ghosts in the Blood Wasteland were not too strong. Even if there were Star Realm ghosts, they could not stop Lin Jun. Chapter 462. Along the way, Lin Jun discovered that there was basically no one in the wasteland. Even if there were still some scattered martial artists, they were not competitive in the 6 paths of reincarnation and could only search for cosmos crystals in the outside world. Lin Jun did not stop in the wasteland and went straight to the front of the 6 paths of reincarnation. The 6 paths of reincarnation were 6 incomparably huge roads that extended for an unknown length. It was more appropriate to describe it as a huge canyon. It was boundless and filled with danger. The 6 paths were Heaven Path, Human Path, Azura Path, Beast Path, Hell Path, and Hungry Ghost Path. The ghosts in each path were different. When Lin Jun arrived, he discovered that there were many martial artists gathered here. Among them, there was a group of people who were the most conspicuous. They were wearing the uniform of the Dimensional Universe Corporation and had set up a stall here to openly purchase cosmos crystals. No one dared to touch the people of the Dimensional Universe Corporation. As the largest corporation in the universe, the Dimensional Universe Corporation had an unfathomable background. It was said that the entire Dimensional Universe Corporation had amassed 20% to 30% of the entire universe's wealth. That was definitely an immeasurable amount. Without a large number of super experts as a backing, the Dimensional Universe Corporation would not have been able to survive until now. Maintaining the operation of the Dimensional Universe required a large number of cosmos crystals. They were here to purchase cosmos crystals. As long as you wanted it, they would be able to get it for you. This was the confidence of the Dimensional Universe Corporation. Lin Jun came to the front of the stall and saw the public purchase notice. 1 cosmos crystal for 100,000 Qilin coins, cash payment. If you did not want money, it was also fine. If you needed anything, they would immediately take it out. Even if they did not have it in their hands, they would be able to obtain it through other means, as long as you gave them some time. Seeing Lin Jun walking over, a staff member of the Dimensional Universe Corporation said, "Little brother, do you have any cosmos crystals to exchange? As long as you have enough cosmos crystals, our Dimensional Universe Corporation will be able to get you anything you want." Lin Jun smiled. "What if I want this Yin Jun World King's inheritance? Can you get it?" It was originally a joke, but he didn't expect that the staff member actually said seriously. "You are not the first person to ask this question. More than 3,000 people have asked this question before you, but I still have to give you a serious answer. Oh, tell me about it. World King Yin Jun's inheritance isn't a part of it. Do you want to ask you a question? First, you must determine which part you want to prove that you aren't just messing with me. If you can say it, then we can discuss the price. Upon hearing this, Lin Jun's expression turned serious. Could it be that the Dimensional Universe Corporation was so resourceful that it knew everything? He had only learned a few days ago that Yin Jun's World King's inheritance had a total of 7 parts. He had obtained the cover of the Golden Book, and there were 6 pieces of golden paper inside. How could they know about this? Although he didn't quite believe it, Lin Jun still said, "I need the first golden page of Yin Jun's World King Inheritance Golden Book." The staff member recorded it down seriously, then said to Lin Jun, "Wait a moment, we will verify the information." He picked up a communicator and started to communicate with his superior in a place where Lin Jun couldn't see. After about 10 minutes, the staff member returned and brought Lin Jun to a room that they had prepared beforehand. He said to Lin Jun seriously, "The information you provided is true. We can also find the whereabouts of the first golden page, but you need to pay us enough cosmos crystals as a deposit before we can help you find it." "How much do you need?" Lin Jun's eyes lit up. The first 3 pages of the golden page recorded the spiritual evil spirit attack. This was what Lin Jun wanted the most, and the most crucial part was undoubtedly the first page. He was determined to get it. This golden page requires a total of 20 million cosmos crystals. If you can pay us half of the deposit, we promise to help you find it within 3 days. Then, you can pay us the other half. The deal is complete. 10 million. Lin Jun muttered to himself. 10 million cosmos crystals was a huge sum. If it was converted to Qilin coins, it would be 1 trillion. If Lin Jun had just obtained the small world stone, he could still afford it. But now, he could only take out 100 billion cosmos crystals. The difference was 10 times. Lin Jun thought for a while. Then can I ask, in this small world stone, where is the place with the most cosmos crystals? This question requires you to pay 100 cosmos crystals. Lin Jun just happened to have a little over 100 cosmos crystals. He immediately took it out without hesitation. The place with the most cosmos crystals is the underground palace. But you have to go through the 6 paths of reincarnation to reach there. And with your current strength, going there is basically sending you to your death. Even if you can persevere, it's just an ignoble existence. It's better to search in the 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Jun was stunned. He suddenly realized that he had asked a stupid question. He wanted to search in the 6 paths of reincarnation. He also wanted to ask which path had the most cosmos crystals. In the end, he asked which path had the most cosmos crystals in the world stone. Oh, what I want to ask is, where is the place with the most cosmos crystals in the 6 paths of reincarnation? That staff member smiled. This question still requires 100 cosmos crystals. Lin Jun touched his hand. He only had 51 cosmos crystals left. He hesitated. Could it be that he had to go back to the wilderness to find some cosmos crystals and come back? That was too troublesome. The staff member looked at Lin Jun's hesitation. He thought for a while. How about this? You give me 50 grams of cosmos crystals, and I'll give you a half-price answer. Lin Jun had no other choice at this moment. He might as well give the 50 cosmos crystals to the other party. He only had 1 left. The most dangerous place has the most cosmos crystals. You just have to find the most dangerous area in the 6 paths of reincarnation. Lin Jun wanted to ask which path was the most dangerous, but after thinking for a while, he kept his mouth shut. Forget it. This Dimensional Universe Corporation was a vampire. Any random question would require money. 100 cosmos crystals might not seem like a lot, but it was equivalent to 10 million Qilin dollars. If it was 10 billion Qilin dollars, Lin Jun could not afford to ask a question that cost 10 billion Qilin dollars. After bidding farewell to the staff member, Lin Jun walked out of the room and once again arrived at the entrance of the 6 paths of reincarnation. There were 6 transfer arrays at the entrance. It was free to enter, but if one wanted to leave, one would need to activate the cosmos crystals. 100 cosmos crystals per use. This is really a place where one can't play without money. Who knows who will benefit from the cosmos crystals used to activate the arrays? This transfer array should be set up by World King Yinjun, but he is already dead. Don't tell me the cosmos crystals will disappear in the end. Lin Jun could not think of an answer to this question, but he had to decide on a place to go. Among the 6 transfer arrays of the 6 paths of reincarnation, it was not an easy task to find the most difficult one. Lin Jun originally wanted to wait for someone to ask, but after a long time, not a single martial artist came out. Finally, the transfer array of the Hungry Ghost Path flashed, and a lone martial artist came out. Lin Jun immediately went up to him. "Friend, may I ask if you know which path is the most difficult and dangerous?" That unaffiliated martial artist immediately replied, "Is there even a need to ask? The Hungry Ghost Path I went to is the most dangerous one. Several of my brothers died there, and I had to go through untold hardships to obtain a batch of cosmos crystals. I'm rushing to exchange them for something." After saying that, the martial artist hurriedly left and went to the Dimensional Universe Corporation stall. It was unknown what he went to exchange for. Lin Jun did not know if he should believe his words. At this time, another martial artist came out from the animal path. Lin Jun stopped him and asked the same question. In the end, he only got the same answer. He believed that the animal path was the most dangerous path. The so-called animal path was the form of various demonic beasts and monsters after they died. According to him, it was indeed incomparably dangerous. After asking 2 people and getting 2 answers, Lin Jun also despaired of asking. It should be because no one had been able to complete the 6 paths of reincarnation. No one could get a standard answer from anyone. He still had to rely on himself to explore. Heaven Path. Logically speaking, this should be the highest level. It is definitely very difficult. Human Path. This is hard to say. There's a saying that man can conquer the heavens. Man's potential is limitless. Maybe Human Path is also super difficult. Asura Path. Asuras are also demons. In some worlds, Asuras exist to fight against gods. This is definitely difficult. Animal Path, Hungry Ghost Path, and Hell Path. These 3 paths are really hard to determine. I feel the Hell Path is slightly more difficult. However, in terms of the cruelty of Hell, it seems to be above Heaven Path. After thinking for a while, Lin Jun finally arrived in front of the Asura Path. Asuras are a race born for battle. Here, I will definitely face endless battles. This is the most dangerous area. I will try this Asura Path. Hopefully, I will be able to gain something. Lin Jun had already made up his mind. Since he could not find any information about the golden paper in a short period of time, he would look for more universe crystals here. As long as he found enough universe crystals, he would be able to obtain the golden paper through the Dimensional Universe Corporation. He was not worried that the Dimensional Universe Corporation would have any tricks up their sleeves. As the largest company across the universe, the treasure of a world king was nothing in their eyes. They would definitely not tarnish their reputation for this matter. After choosing the Asura Path, Lin Jun immediately walked into the teleportation array. Light flashed before his eyes. The teleportation array activated and Lin Jun disappeared. The next moment, he appeared in a huge canyon. Before he could see the scene in the canyon clearly, figures flashed in front of him. He was already surrounded. It's really not easy. I didn't expect that after so long, there would still be people coming here. At least we didn't wait in vain. Kid, the people from the geocentric Jade Tower are here. Obediently hand over the universe crystals on you, and we can discuss everything. Otherwise, a man with a sinister face made a throat-slitting gesture at Lin Jun. Chapter 463. The geocentric Jade Tower was one of the 4 major gangs in the Sanjiang Federation. It mainly dealt in the slave trade and contracted life planets to grow poisonous plants. It had the worst reputation among the 4 major gangs. 1, 2, 3, for a total of 25 people. That's quite a lot. Lin Jun held the only universe crystal in his hand and waited a few times. I only have this one. If you want it, I'll give it to you. The other party's leader was a level 9 stellar level spirit reader. This was basically the strongest person below the black hole stage. He sneered. Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? My brothers and I have been living in the open. There are dozens of people who need to eat. If you don't hand over all your assets today, this will be your burial ground. But I really only have this one universe crystal. What you say is useless. Hand over your space ring. We will search it ourselves. Lin Jun really did not have anything good in his space ring. All the valuable items had been transferred to the Dark Star space. That was the real safe place. But even if there was nothing in the space ring, Lin Jun would not let others search it. He touched his nose. What if I say no? Kid, you better think carefully. This is not the virtual world. If you die, even your corpse will never be able to return home. I've already thought it through. Either you take the universe crystal or you get nothing. A cold light flashed in the leader's eyes. Good, you have backbone. I admire people with backbone. I think we can be friends. Lin Jun laughed. It's good to be friends. I like to make friends too. Let me give my new friend a greeting gift. He raised his left hand, and an energy ball suddenly appeared in his palm. The strong light blinded the surrounding people. Lin Jun turned around and slammed the energy ball into the space behind him. The dazzling light was accompanied by a scream. A level 7 stellar level warrior in black with a short knife was hit by Lin Jun. After a second of devastation from the energy ball, his body was completely vaporized. Lin Jun casually killed a level 7 stellar level warrior as if he had done something insignificant. He clapped his hands. How is it? I'll let you watch the fireworks show for free. Are you satisfied with the gift I gave you for our first meeting? My friend, you're courting death. Seeing that their sneak attack had been seen through by Lin Jun, the people of the geocentric Jade Tower immediately shouted and attacked from all directions. 7-star saber. 7 streaks of cold light burst forth, instantly landing on 7 people. Lin Jun shook the yin-yang spear in his hand. If you want to kill, you must be prepared to be killed. Milky Way starburst. With a thrust of his spear, over a dozen planets shot out from behind Lin Jun like massive missiles. Instantly, the 100-meter radius in front of him was enveloped in an azure field. Not good. The leader of the geocentric Jade Tower let out a strange cry. A divine artifact shield was placed in front of him, forcefully resisting Lin Jun's instantaneous attack. However, his companion behind him didn't have such a good divine artifact. He was blown to smithereens by Lin Jun's Milky Way star explosion. Lin Jun took a light step forward, and the spear in his hand shook out a string of spear shadows. It was unstoppable. The spear pierced through the shield and went straight through the heart. Grasping the spear shaft, he exerted force. A ball of cold air burst forth from the spear tip, immediately freezing the leader inside. Before being frozen, the leader still sent out a spiritual attack to attack Lin Jun. However, in front of Lin Jun's 80% azure spiritual power, his spiritual attack was simply like an egg smashing against a rock. Lin Jun withdrew his spear. The leader still held the shield in his hand. His eyes were wide open, and he had an expression of complete disbelief. Lin Jun walked over and knocked the leader's palm with the spear shaft. Lin Jun took the leader's interspatial ring. Opening it to take a look, there was light in front of his eyes. Using his spiritual power to scan, there were actually more than 300,000 cosmos crystals. Other than the cosmos crystals, there wasn't anything good at all. Some of the larger items should have been transferred to other people's rings. Lin Jun looked through all the rings that he could collect, but he only found a few hundred cosmos crystals. It should be the private stashes of those people. The harvest is not bad. These people made quite a bit of money by robbing here. Now, I have picked up a bargain. 320,000 cosmos crystals. Hee hee. Not caring about the dead people, Lin Jun put all the valuables into the Dark Star space. With this huge natural warehouse, Lin Jun basically wouldn't waste anything. The smell of blood slowly drifted out, and gradually there were movements in the surroundings. Lin Jun's eyesight was extremely good. He raised his eyes and looked into the distance. On the surrounding rocks and trees, he saw pairs of vicious, resentful, and murderous eyes appear. They are here, Azura race, a race that dares to challenge the gods. Lin Jun didn't dare to be careless. Holding the yin-yang spear, he immediately activated his armor. Shio, 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 shio. Figures rushed over like lightning. Their speed was dozens or even hundreds of times faster than the speed of sound. The air behind them was exploding due to the high-speed movement. They rushed towards Lin Jun with a rumbling sound. They only had simple clothes on, or no clothes at all. Every one of them had a ferocious face and held blood-stained weapons in their hands. The weakest of them was at the initial stage of the Star Realm. In an instant, hundreds of Azura warriors surrounded and attacked. Start the battle. Lin Jun wasn't afraid at all. Holding the yin-yang spear, he teleported into the crowd. Meteor fall. A dazzling light bloomed, and the sky was filled with blood and wind. After advancing to the satellite realm, Lin Jun could even crush ordinary Star Realm experts, let alone Star Realm experts. His spear flew, and a combat race like the Azura couldn't even withstand a single blow. 3 minutes later, the Azura corpses on the ground fell to the ground. Lightning strike. With a thrust of his spear, lightning and holy light spun like a windmill. A tall male Azura was killed by Lin Jun, and the battlefield calmed down. Lin Jun withdrew his spear and looked behind a big rock. Have you seen enough? Come out. There was no movement behind the rock. Lin Jun snorted and raised his hand. The 7-star gold blade flew out and gently slashed the rock. The rock was cut in half like tofu and fell to the left and right. A person hiding behind the rock was revealed. He was wearing a sacred weapon helmet with 2 horns on it. He held a big axe in his hand. The armor on his body was simple and crude. He was only 3 meters tall, but his body was exceptionally strong. He stared at Lin Jun with his eyes wide open. You really found me? Your disguise is indeed good, but you can't hide from me. You should know that I'm a high-level telekinesis master. Lin Jun looked at the dwarf and knew that he was from the dwarf race. He also knew that this was not an ordinary dwarf, but a member of the dwarf race, the spirit race. The dwarf race was also a natural-born warrior with extraordinary strength. However, like the beastmen, this race had almost no telekinesis masters, and they were not afraid of mental attacks. The spirit race was a special race among the dwarf race. They were born with a keen sense of smell for treasures. They were a very special existence. Lin Jun had come to know about this race by chance in his previous life. He did not expect to see one today. The spirit race dwarf in front of him was obviously very young. He didn't have a thick beard on his face. He didn't look shrewd, but Lin Jun wouldn't underestimate him. This guy had reached the early black hole realm. He was definitely an expert. Lin Jun also noticed that this dwarf had a total of 10 spatial rings on his hands. Lin Jun really hadn't faced a black hole realm opponent head-on. His eyes flickered, and he walked over expressionlessly. When the dwarf saw Lin Jun, the god of death, walking over, he suddenly panicked. Although he was the #1 genius of the dwarf race in their galaxy, reaching the early black hole realm at the age of 80, he didn't have the slightest confidence in defeating this human in front of him. This human was too strong. Not only did he kill the gangsters of the geocentric Jade Tower, but he also killed a large number of Azuras. Moreover, after observing for so long, he found that he couldn't see the other party's realm at all. In short, it was definitely not the satellite realm that he showed. This person was unfathomable. The dwarf came to this conclusion and knew that he might be Lin Jun's opponent, so he immediately became terrified. Hey, brother. I don't have any evil intentions for coming here. I just want to leave through the teleportation array. You guys are fighting and blocking the exit, so I can only wait here. When your battle is over, I'll sneak out. You know, in the Azura realm, people like me who don't have any strength or money can only survive. Lin Jun sneered. You don't have strength? Your stealth method is very outstanding. If it weren't for my mental strength being strong enough, I wouldn't have been able to find you at all. In addition, your realm has reached the early black hole realm. How can you say that your strength is weak? Holding the long spear in his hand, Lin Jun moved forward step by step. Every step he took was in the rhythm of the dwarf's heartbeat. This feeling made him extremely uncomfortable. This was Lin Jun's enlightenment during the battle. He controlled the opponent's mind and affected his performance. Stop. Don't come near me. Hey. Why are you so close? Can you respect me? I'm also in the black hole realm. If you push me too far, you may not be able to get any benefits. As the dwarf spoke, his eyes kept rolling. Lin Jun could feel his muscles tightening, which was a precursor to his strength. Say, what are you doing here? Did you find any treasures here? What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just passing by, spirit race of the dwarf race. Don't think that no one recognizes you. The dwarf was taken aback, and a trace of determination suddenly appeared on his face. He didn't expect someone to recognize his identity. Relying on his intuition about treasures, he was like a fish in water here. When he came here, he did find some good things, but he didn't expect to be recognized by Lin Jun. He had to gamble this time. Just as the dwarf was about to attack Lin Jun's footsteps that had been following his heartbeat suddenly stopped. This made him extremely uncomfortable, and his heart instinctively stopped beating. There was only a pause of about 0.5 seconds, and Lin Jun seized this opportunity to attack. Phantom God Strike. The dwarf was caught off guard and couldn't resist Lin Jun's blow. The big axe in his hand was directly knocked away by Lin Jun, and his body was like a ball. He was blasted hundreds of meters away by Lin Jun. The dwarf screamed and turned around to run. Lin Jun chuckled and chased after him with lightning speed. Chapter 464. Lin Jun's long-brewing blow made the dwarf's confidence disappear. With the strength of the black hole stage, if he seriously fought with Lin Jun, it was hard to say who would win, but Lin Jun's little skills and the power of the Phantom God Strike abruptly changed the situation to one side. The dwarf made another mistake, which was to turn around and run away. Lin Jun didn't even chase for a few steps. He raised his hand, and a powerful gravitational force roared out, directly pulling the running dwarf back. Seeing Lin Jun's magical means, the dwarf confirmed his speculation. This person was definitely hiding his strength, and he couldn't match him. Hey, brother, be gentle. I'm not hostile, I'm a pacifist. The dwarf struggled up and down in Lin Jun's hands, constantly twisting. I'm also a pacifist, as long as you tell me your purpose here. You're a pacifist, you kill people like scything flax. I'm really a passerby. Stop, I'll talk. Lin Jun shot out a ball of flame, which immediately made the dwarf change his words. Putting the dwarf on the ground, this guy's first action was to tidy up his somewhat messy hairstyle. Can I believe you? The dwarf asked tentatively. As you can see, I'm very strong, and the two of us may be able to cooperate. What the hell? How did I meet you? How do you know I'm from the spirit race? This is the first time I've come to the 100 River Star. If it weren't for my grandmother's generation being unscrupulous and having foreign blood, I would have been a pure dwarf warrior. Lin Jun looked at the dwarf's long-winded words, simply raised his hand, and forcibly took off the 5 rings on one of his hands. Why does a dwarf wear so many rings? It's mine. Hey, give it back to me. Lin Jun's spiritual force swept and found that there were a lot of universe crystals in the ring, and even a lot of messy things, which are all very rare and precious. As expected of the spirit race, to think that they would be able to find so many treasures. Lin Jun returned the ring to the dwarf. This action made the dwarf stunned. He thought that Lin Jun would forcibly rob him. He didn't expect that Lin Jun didn't want his things. Now we can talk about cooperation. With the two of us together, our efficiency will definitely double. For the first time, the dwarf didn't avoid it. He raised his head and said, "If you don't know how to take advantage of others, you can study it." Of course not. And I believe that you also have the ability to protect yourself. When I caught you just now, you weren't afraid in your heart, because you still have the means to counterattack and protect yourself. The dwarf finally nodded. Yes, but I can only find the specific direction of the treasure, which is not very efficient. That doesn't matter. I have very strong spiritual power. You find the general location, and I'll find the specific direction. We'll cooperate. Here. The dwarf raised his hand and pointed at a depression in the valley. That depression is 1,000 meters wide. There's a strong aura of treasure inside. Let's go and have a look. Lin Jun picked up the yin-yang spear and walked in front. The dwarf saw Lin Jun's spear and trembled. Your attack just now was really abnormal. I wanted to kill you first, but I'm not your opponent at all. What's your name? Lin Jun, what about you? My name is Nico. Nico. Linjun looked back and asked. Well, almost everyone calls me that. Linjun looked back and didn't laugh at the dwarf's red face. His face was expressionless, but he was laughing in his heart. Such a short and fat man was actually called Nico. Nothing was too strange in this boundless world. Obviously, Lin Jun's expressionless face pleased the dwarf. He said happily, "Brother, do you know? You're the first person who didn't laugh at me when you heard my name. For this, I think I can cooperate with you well." Of course, respecting a person's name is the minimum performance, and I think this name is very nice, not bad. Is it? You should know that I have 56 brothers, and my mother wanted a girl. So, after some searching, she decided on this name. Even after she was born, she didn't change it. This name was given by a human race great mage who passed by our underground cave. I heard that it involved astrology. It cost him a lot of silver coins and a jar of wine. In the dwarf Nico's long-winded words, the two came to the depression of the valley. Lin Jun followed the dwarf's guidance and began to release his spiritual power. Oh, I'm rich now. His spiritual power covered hundreds of meters. Lin Jun found a large number of cosmos crystals. What he saw with his spiritual power could be transmitted to Chris immediately. Chris immediately made the most accurate judgment. Master, this is a rich production area of cosmos crystals. There are 487,266 in the east, 578822 in the west, 399821 in the south, and 577,369 in the north. Including the area under our feet, there are a total of 9 million cosmos crystals. Hearing this string of numbers, Lin Jun was immediately overjoyed. How to search was the best, and only this kind of nest where he could find cosmos crystals was the best. A guide from the dwarf might be equivalent to several days of his collection. He needed a total of 20 million cosmos crystals, and he got 1/10 of them in one go. Are you good at digging? Lin Jun asked. I'm very good at it. You should know that we dwarves live in underground nests. Tiansheng is an expert at digging holes. Besides, I'm now in the black hole stage. As long as I want, I can turn this ground over in 10 minutes. You don't need to turn the ground over. You just need to follow my guidance and dig at certain places. Lin Jun raised his hand. Countless holy light spots flew out from his palm and marked those important areas. Go dig down according to those light spots. I promise you'll have a big harvest. Okay, what I was most worried about was where to dig when faced with a lot of cosmos crystals. You know, when there are countless cosmos crystals around, my intuition is no longer effective. Nicole said a few words, then suddenly jumped up. The big axe in her hand rotated downwards, and like an electric drill, it drilled into the ground with a rumble. Lin Jun didn't stay idle either. He took out his long spear and digging tools on the spot. He picked up the cosmos crystals one by one, and then directly used gravity to absorb them all. However, Lin Jun didn't secretly put them into the dark star space. Instead, he put them all in his interspatial ring. This was more honest. When two people cooperated, mutual trust was still the foundation. At first, Lin Jun thought of using his spiritual force to completely control the dwarf with soul lock, but this wasn't easy. The dwarf's spirit was condensed, and the other party was also in the black hole stage. If he was too ruthless, the dwarf would certainly fight back desperately. It wasn't worth it for some cosmos crystals. Besides, he also felt that this dwarf wasn't bad. Maybe they could really be friends. The two people's excavation lasted for a whole 3 hours. When both of them were sweating profusely and piling up the cosmos crystals together, the dwarf's eyes shone. Wow, the harvest this time is comparable to half a month of mine. If I had met you earlier, it would have been great. Haha, this is also not bad. As long as we work together, a lot of wealth will be ours. Come, let's divide these first, each of us half. Lin Jun decided to take half of the cosmos crystals each. He didn't expect the dwarf to suddenly say seriously, "This isn't good. Although you and I have worked hard, your strength is stronger than mine. The strong should get more benefits. I think I'll take 1/3, and you take 2/3. Lin Jun didn't want to take advantage of the dwarf, so he also refused, but the dwarf was more insistent. Then how about this? If we encounter any treasure, I'll choose first. As for the cosmos crystals, you and I will divide them equally. Okay, but let me tell you, the treasures here are not easy to find. I feel that there are some special things in several places, but I don't dare to go there. Oh, were they? Lin Jun easily split the close to 2 million cosmos crystals into half and asked at the same time. There's a place in the Azura Road where the Azuras and Azura Kings gather. That place is filled with dangers, and there's also a group of people from Sky Split Tower guarding the entrance, not allowing anyone to pass. There must be something important there. Sky Split Tower. Lin Jun thought for a moment. What do you think their goal is? What else could it be? That place is also rich in cosmos crystals. They are excavating there and clearing out the Azura warriors bit by bit, treating it as an experience. Will they finish quickly? According to my estimate, they should be able to reach the Azura Kings in about 10 days. Lin Jun nodded. Good. Then let's stroll around outside. Once the 8th or 9th day comes, we'll go and take a look. Okay, I'll go with you. The dwarf's eyes were filled with excitement. He had likely suffered losses at the hands of those from Sky Split Tower. Now that he had Lin Jun with him, he had plans to go back and take revenge. This was also human nature. Lin Jun didn't expose him, nor did he care. He continued to excavate with the dwarf Nicole. With Nicole's guidance and Lin Jun's accurate probing, the efficiency of the two was so high that they could fly. On the first day, after giving half to Nicole, Lin Jun obtained over 2 million cosmos crystals. On the second day, Lin Jun obtained another 8 million cosmos crystals. On the third day, 5 million cosmos crystals. On the fourth day, 3 million cosmos crystals. On the fifth day, 2 million cosmos crystals. On the sixth day, Lin Jun returned 10 million cosmos crystals to the staff of the Dimensional Universe Corporation and had them search for the first page of the Golden Book. Afterwards, Lin Jun returned to the Azura Road and joined forces with the dwarf to continue searching. In these 3 days, Lin Jun obtained a total of 5 million cosmos crystals. On the morning of the 9th day, the two of them headed towards the deepest parts of the Azura Road. There was the Azura King and a massive number of Azuras there, as well as many gangsters from Sky Split Tower. Chapter 465. There was a lake in the center of the Azura Path. The lake was made up of the filthiest blood water. It was called the Blood Sea and was hailed as the sacred lake of the Azura clan. It was said that the strongest Azura warriors were born from the Blood Sea. Those born outside were all ordinary Azuras. Every Azura warrior was the strongest level, 9 stellar level warrior. But ghosts were ghosts. They couldn't be compared to humans. These Azura warriors were nibbled away by the gang members of Tong Tian Tower. Their numbers were getting lesser and lesser. After eliminating a large number of Azura warriors, Tong Tian Tower started to collect large amounts of universe crystals. Jin Haonan held an interspatial ring as he jogged over to a man in black robes. Boss Xianzhu, this is our team's harvest after 2 hours. Take a look. The black-clothed man had a pair of eagle-like eyes. His realm was at the late stage of the black hole stage and was on the verge of breaking through to the nebula stage. This was the leader of the younger generation of Tong Tian Tower. His name was Xianzhu. He was at the forefront every time the gangs fought. When he just entered the star level, he had the record of killing a black hole stage expert. He was a genius rarely seen in 100 years. Receiving Jin Haonan's interspatial ring, Xianzhu's spiritual power that was close to the peak of the sky blue level swept through the inside of the ring. Xianzhu's eyes suddenly turned cold. Someone is hiding something. No, boss. Definitely not. How would I dare? Jin Haonan was so scared that his legs went soft. He was very clear about Xianzhu's ruthlessness. If he hid something, he wouldn't have a good ending. That's not up to you to decide. Get everyone in your group over here. After a while, Jin Haonan's team of 100 people arrived in front of Xianzhu. Do you think I'm easy to deceive? I'll let you be in charge of the East District. I've already checked before. There's a total of 7 million universe crystals in the East District. But there's only 5 million in this ring. Where did the rest go? Boss Xianzhu, we might have missed something when we were cleaning. Let's go back and look for it. I know there will be some missing, but the missing part won't exceed 1 million. There's at least 500,000 universe crystals missing. Xianzhu's voice became colder. I'll give you a chance now. Whoever hid something, step out, and I'll leave him a whole corpse. These people all trembled, and no one said a word. Very good. Since no one admitted it, now everyone open your spatial rings. Many people's faces revealed a panicked expression, but all of them cooperatively raised their hands and opened up their spatial rings. Xian Bede's mental power swept through them one by one. When his gaze landed on a white-faced man, he stopped. It's you. Oh no, Boss Xianzhu, I don't even have a single universe crystal in my storage ring. Do you think I'm looking at your rings? I was looking at your expressions. When I asked to open the rings, only you had a satisfied expression on your face. What's more, other people have more or less a few in their rings, only you don't have one. Don't you think your acting is a bit too much? The pale-faced man still wanted to refute, but with a mental attack, this martial artist's mind went blank. Soul Search. His spiritual power circled around the other party's spiritual sea. This was a soul searching, so the other party's memories had nowhere to hide. But when he searched the soul, his spiritual power encountered an extremely strong resistance. Not good. This person is being controlled. Xianzhu's expression changed. He increased the output of his spiritual power and forcefully searched the other party's soul. His spiritual power was at the late stage of sky green. After forcefully searching the other party's soul, the other party's spiritual control was broken, but the person also became retarded. It's actually a spirit reader that is about the same level as me. Even if he's weaker than me, it's still very limited. There's actually such an existence here. Although there were people secretly coveting, Xianzhu didn't have the time to care. He was now preparing to attack Azura King, and before that, he couldn't make any mistakes. He hoped that the person secretly coveting wouldn't dare to go against Tong Tian Tower so brazenly. Furthermore, he had absolute confidence that within this world stone, as long as it wasn't someone from the Dimensional Universe Corporation or the Dimensional Arena, he had the confidence to deal with anyone. But after a period of time, there were situations where the universe crystals were being hidden, and there were situations where people were being secretly controlled. This made Xianzhu extremely annoyed. Boss, we can't go on like this. We've already lost 4 million universe crystals today. The other party is very accurate, specifically targeting people who have gathered the most. Furthermore, his spiritual power is very strong, and he can control people invisibly. Xianzhu nodded. This really can't go on like this. Actually, I'm not too worried about losing some universe crystals. What I'm worried about is that when we go to deal with Azura King, this person will secretly cause trouble. Then what should we do? Jean Haonan asked. Seems like we have to take some measures. We have to ferret out this person who is secretly causing trouble. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Lin Jun silently counted the universe crystals in his hand. Right now, he had close to 8 million. As long as he reached 10 million, he could immediately go out in exchange for the first page of golden paper from the Dimensional Universe Corporation. Actually, he could borrow some from Nicole, and he believed that Nicole wouldn't refuse. However, Lin Jun didn't want to do so. The two of them were only in a cooperative relationship, and he didn't want to break it. Lin Jun, this is great. I'll guide them to find the most people, and you'll secretly control where they bury the universe crystals. We'll secretly go and retrieve them. This way, we'll have over 1,000 people working for us, and we'll be able to find them faster than you and me. Hee. Indeed, it's great. However, I'm afraid the other party won't just wait for death. Forget it. Look at that one, the one in gray clothes. He has the richest treasure aura on his body. I'm afraid he has over 1 million universe crystals. He should be a small leader. Lin Jun nodded. With a wave of his hand, a crack appeared in the folded space. He focused on the person that Nicole had pointed out. That person didn't seem to notice anything and was still searching everywhere. He even seemed to have left the group. Now, sensing that this person was close to the place where he and Nicole were hiding, Lin Jun secretly activated Soul Lock. Pung! A powerful spiritual power enveloped over, and the other party's body immediately stiffened. It seemed that he was about to be controlled by Lin Jun. Just as Lin Jun felt that he was about to succeed, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. This person has already been controlled. He's just a bait. Without waiting for Lin Jun to withdraw his spiritual power, an extremely tyrannical spiritual power had already followed and fiercely struck Lin Jun's mind. It had been a very long time since he felt a piercing pain in his head. Ever since Lin Jun's spiritual power had advanced to the Sky Cyan level, he had basically crushed all the other fighters. However, right now, he had met someone whose spiritual power was even stronger than his. This caused Lin Jun to be somewhat caught off guard. The spiritual power was cut off, and Lin Jun and Nicole immediately appeared from the folded space where they were hidden. Here, found it. The Tong Tian Tower gang members who were originally focused on searching for universe crystals immediately surrounded them while shouting. This was clearly a trap. The first to arrive was Xianzhu, who was dressed in black clothes. Xianzhu used his hand to lightly rub his forehead. Damn it, what a strong spiritual power. The rebound force actually made my head hurt like it was being pricked by needles. He used his spiritual power to attack Lin Jun. At the same time, he also received a strong rebound, causing him to feel extremely uncomfortable. Looking at the thousands of people surrounding them, looking at this Xianzhu who had reached the late stage of the black hole realm, Lin Jun knew that today's battle would not be easy. Even if he entered the Wei Zhou, even if he had the power of the Dark Star, he still did not have the energy to fight with a black hole realm expert, especially when this was a late-stage black hole realm expert. He patted Nicole's shoulder beside him. Brother, the two of us are in trouble today. The other side has thousands of people. I'm afraid I can only deal with the one in front of us. Then what about the others? Nicole asked. Of course it's you, a dwarf from the Spirit Clan. If you can block all the others, the two of us can still fight this battle. If you can't, we may stay in the Yellow Springs netherworld forever as two ghosts. Nicole's face was sullen. I'm a pacifist. While I like her wine, poetry, sculptures, and shiny things, I don't like fighting and killing. If we win this battle, you can have as many of those things as you want. Lin Jun raised his hand and took out the yin-yang spear. You're really something. You can actually think of such a method to lure me out. Lin Jun looked at Xianzhu in front of him. Oomph. You dare to rob our Tong Tian Tower's things. I think you're tired of living. Today, even the heavens won't be able to save you. Just as Xianzhu finished speaking, Jin Haonan rubbed his eyes. Boss Xianzhu, I know this person. His name is Lin Jun. He's from the Galactic Beast Alliance. Back then, I couldn't enter the dimensional universe for a month and delayed the matter of inheriting the family. He was the one who ruined it. Galactic Beast Alliance? Xianzhu's face turned cold. What? Does the Galactic Beast Alliance also want to play the dirty game? Even if you're a cross-universe organization in the Sanjiang Federation, you're still a little lacking compared to our Tong Tian Tower. Now, hand over all the universe crystals, and I'll pretend that nothing happened. Lin Jun sneered. You've already robbed, and you're still talking about handing it over. Wouldn't that make people laugh their heads off? If you have the ability, then come and take it yourself. If you don't, then shut up. F***CK. You don't know what's good for you. Xianzhu was still a gangster after all. Seeing that Lin Jun didn't give him any face, he immediately became ferocious. Brothers, you guys get rid of that short fatty. Leave this Lin Jun to me. Just as he finished speaking, Lin Jun suddenly twisted his body and was about to teleport into the crowd. Interrupted, Xianzhu's spiritual power was a little stronger than Lin Jun's. He forcibly interrupted Lin Jun's teleportation. Using spiritual power in front of me is simply displaying your slight skill in front of an expert. As Xianzhu spoke, another spiritual attack was launched. Then his entire body rapidly dashed forward. His blade brought along the wind and clouds, whistling over at a few hundred times the speed of sound. Wherever the blade passed, space collapsed and elemental storms surged. Its power was unparalleled. The others also whistled and surrounded the dwarf Nicole like a pack of wolves.